It's 6 o'clock, so I'm going to call the meeting to order. Good evening and welcome, everyone. This meeting is being recorded using all technology and will be available on the city YouTube channel after the meeting, one in a couple days. There are several topics on the agenda this evening that may involve some public input. Welcome to everyone. The protocol is that when that topic arrives, if you are the presenter, please come to the podium, use the microphone and state your name and address. If you're not the presenter, then you would comment after the presenter has completed. Again, come to the podium and state your name and address using the microphone. So with all that in mind, take a roll call and please state your name.
Mary Ann Wainwright.
Nick Wolf, Dan Wozniak, Mike Hare, Tom Murray.
Thank you. Item number 4 on the agenda is approval of the consent agenda. Does anyone have any items on the consent agenda?
There is one thing I wanted to mention on the council minutes at the end, and I'm not looking to get into a discussion in it, but one thing that was mentioned at the end of the meeting that I think would be important is adding that various department heads did voice concerns about hostile work environment, low morale since the beginning of the year. And I think that's pretty kind of to the conversation going on there. I'd like to see that added to the council minute.
Any other comments?
We need to make a motion.
Yeah.
Motion to do that.
Do I second?
Second.
All in favor, please.
Aye.
Aye.
Thank you. Move on to number 5, reports.
Oh, yeah, still through the consent agenda.
Consent agenda.
That's what
He just changed the minutes.
okay,
Motion to approve the consent agenda.
okay. Sorry, separate motion then. Thank you. Second,
Second.
all in favor.
Aye. Aye.
Thank you. Now we can move on to the reports. I don't see the sheriff's deputy yet. Kathy is here for the library. Does anybody have any questions for Kathy? Chief Thankett is here. Do we have any questions for the chief? Chief had a comment.
No, I don't know.
Oh, you're just acknowledging your presence?
That regen you walk through and extinguisher, fire suppression. Pretty good. I mean, they kind of did their own thing, but.
Looks like they're doing everything right. I mean, it looks like a pretty good setup, I guess.
Yeah.
For as little as I know about it.
Yeah, kind of setting the tone for that whole area down there.
Yeah.
Okay.
I mean, right now, it's, as long as, I think the people that are in charge of it, that are managing it, are pretty good. They're pretty safety conscious about what's gonna go on down there.
Yeah.
So I think that's good.
Okay.
A lot of it's so new, they want to, because it's the state.
Yeah,
They're
they're just-
one of the kind through the US, so they're really trying to push it and be the.
Authorized.
Yeah, yeah, and who knows in time to inspections and everything else, you know, wear and tear.
Right, yeah.
That's the scary part in my mind.
I think if they ask you to work out there in the winter just for a part-time job, I would say no, because there's no heat.
Just to take an office job, see the
Yeah.
office.
But it seems like a pretty slick deal.
Okay.
And just an update, I was gonna tell you, Nick, about on the truck thing that we're speccing, I'm hoping to have some numbers in the next couple of months. We finally got the specs to, I think, 4 different truck companies, so it's just a kind of a waiting game now to figure out. And it's like a 3-year build date, maybe. When we get more info, but we are moving along with that process, but. Other than that, oh, and then the new truck that I talked about last month that we're getting for Walburn, That's just going in our name, but they're doing all the transfer, so that, is coming in too, so that should be. Other than that.
Okay, any other questions for the chief? If not, any questions for Chris on his building department report? Okay, how about Lynn on maintenance department? Brian, water and wastewater report. Any questions for Joe on parks and recreation?
Joe, question on, heard some stuff on vandalism that better.
Yes,
Can you elaborate on that a little bit?
somebody took a pound of powdered sugar in the women's restroom and just and then wetted it down. So when we got in there, it was a sticky mess, to say the least. And the men's side, somebody tried to flush, I don't know why I even brought them to this, tried to flush a full-size hoodie down the toilet, and that didn't happen, it just soaked up all the water. So we spent a couple hours getting it cleaned up, and after talking with the mayor, we decided the best thing to do at Feder at this time is to close those bathrooms if there's not an event going on. The thing with Feder, the bathrooms, there's a privacy fence that's in front of them. So you can't see anything from Lynn Street or the complex. And because you're behind the building, you can't see anything from Church Street. So it really allows itself for the vandalism. And that's kind of where we're at right now. We got it cleaned up, and there was no real damage, mechanical damage, but, it takes some resources still to do that type of stuff. And it had to happen sometime between, 6 or 7 PM on Sunday, when we were done with the tournament, and 4 o'clock or 5 o'clock the next day. When we went back in, because we were opening up for another ball game. And then to take that one step further, this past Sunday night, somebody busted a bench at the complex. The 4 benches that go around the flag pole. Limestone. Yeah, the limestone bench. Somebody had busted it. They would have had to have taken something to hit it. And I can't even imagine how big the person would have had to have been or whatever. I don't know. I don't believe a 12-year-old kid could have done it, but in any case, that's busted. We took that down and we'll replace that.
Did we file a police report or anything with that?
No, I didn't file a police report with it. And, there's a certain amount of, what's the word I'm looking, deductible that we have, and it wouldn't have met that. And so by filing the police report, to be honest with you, all it is, it's just a futile red tape deal. There's nothing we can do about it. It's an individual event, so it doesn't go on to the next one anyway. And I have been filing those, don't get me wrong, I've been filing those for the past several years. Absolutely nothing happens with it. There's just nothing that happens to it, except me spending about a half hour, 45 minutes filling out paperwork for the sheriff.
One time we did have success, it was at Hawks Ridge.
Was it Fox Ridge or was it,
Hawks Ridge.
both? I
The,
think you're drifting.
they found out who did it,
Yeah.
and the police department made them make restitution,
Well,
so.
that was, we had it
Sometimes.
at Driftwood where they used the arrow, somebody had videotaped that, and because we had that evidence, we did do that.
Yeah, the next thing is if things happen, multiple times, they can maybe connect them together. Those chances are slim to none, but.
And if I'm directed, I'd be happy to, in my opinion, waste the time to file a police report, but unless it's a big enough deal. That thing in the bathroom at Feder Field, that was,
I just didn't know the cost of the bench, because the powdered sugar, that's idiot kids, we were all stupid, I get that, but.
It's probably
You had to
a couple
be dedicated to put the stank on a limestone bench to break the end off.
yeah, that's probably a couple $100 for a new top.
Used to be it was like 250, something like that, or bench like that, I'm not sure the other now.
Any other questions for Joe? Any questions for Cynthia on the city hall report? Okay, I don't have any additional comments on mayor's report unless you have questions for me. Any questions for Shane Wicks on engineering?
Oh, I just now noticed I don't have his reports in there. I did not realize that they were not put in when I was on vacation. I will email those to you tomorrow and I'll put them in the package tomorrow morning.
Okay, we'll move on to item number 6, which is a public hearing for the general obligation loan agreement and to borrow money in principal amount not to exceed $700,000. This is a public hearing. I'm gonna go ahead and open up the public hearing. Cynthia, did we receive any resident questions?
Not at City Hall, no.
Not City Hall. I'm gonna let Cynthia just talk a little bit about the detail and the purpose behind it.
Just open this up. So, the purposes of the bond, street, water system, stormwater, sanitary sewer, sidewalk improvements, street lighting, signage, signalization improvement, construction, bridge improvements. It can be used for any of those. If you remember during the budget, we identified, projects that we were gonna use loss for, or projects that we're gonna use bond funds on hand, and that took this down to 600 and some thousand. They always rounded up to the nearest 100,000, so it won't be 700 that we borrow.
And I'll just comment that this amount is less than the amount that we would be paying off our existing loans this fiscal year, right, something?
Yes, it's less than we'd be paying off just in our geo bonds.
Right.
And then we pay off additional in SRF.
Okay. Is there anyone present this evening that would like to make a comment about this general obligation loan agreement? Seeing none, I'll go ahead and close the public hearing. And we'll move on to item number 7. Consider resolution taking additional action on this proposal of the general obligation loan agreement. Setting the date for the sale of purpose bonds, and that'll be Cynthia, June 24th, our special meeting.
Yes, and Maggie will be here that night to, they'll do the online bidding, and she'll bring the results.
Okay, good. And authorizing the use of a preliminary official statement in connection therewith. So I need a motion, consider that resolution.
Motion.
Second, please.
Second.
Roll call, please, Tom.
Aye.
Aye. Thank you. Next, we'll move on to number 8, which is a hearing regarding a notice of violation about poultry within the city. And Deanna Reynolds is here at the podium. Welcome, Deanna. And go ahead and share information, please.
That's on, but you guys can hear me.
Turn it up just a little bit if you can.
Is the switch on?
Maybe turn it up a little bit.
Yeah, it was not.
Working.
Is that better?
That's better. Thank you.
All right. So, I had some neighbors that were in this. You guys are moving very quickly. Awesome. So they probably won't make it in time. But I wanted to introduce myself. I'm Deanna Reynolds. I'm at 474 Sunset Drive, Fairfax resident. We're the house with the ducks, as many of you know. I'm an active citizen of Fairfax. I'm a kindergarten teacher in Prairie. I sit on the Parks and Beautification Board for several years. We love Fairfax. We love our town. My husband's from Cedar Rapids. We moved here after being in the DC area for 12 years. We were very excited to have our little piece of Americana and our big yard and our kids can ride bikes and our great neighborhood. Those of you that live in Fairfax know our house, because lots of people stop by and say hi. We live right by the fishing pond, which is frequented by geese and ducks directly on the other side of our fence. They visit often. For many years, we even had wild ducks that would come and lay eggs in our yard and in our bushes and so forth. We chose to have ducks as pets for many reasons. Some friends that come and stop by on their daily walks, we love talking about those reasons. Two of the big things are that they interact with us. We've imprinted on them since they were days old, and they provide us with daily eggs that we give to our friends and family and neighbors. I did lots of research and chose a breed that was calm and quiet. They're Welsh Harlequin ducks. Our neighbors on either side of us have never once complained about the ducks and enjoy them as much as we do. And since our violation, I confirmed with both of our neighbors, and they have both emphatically said that they are not a nuisance and have not complained. And they have also spoken to other neighbors in our community who also have agreed that they haven't complained. Or most of the time they say that you wouldn't even notice that we have them because they just wander around the yard. So it just, they looked, actually one neighbor asked if they were the wild ducks that used to come in our yard anyways. Many Fairfax citizens tell us that we're part of their daily walk and how much the ducks bring them joy. Although we've had them for over a year, we understand that we are now in violation of the livestock ordinance. My husband and I have been devoting our time to the best course of action to keep the ducks and still be connected with our community and abide within our rules. We addressed these concerns last week with our state senator, Charlie McClintock. He endorses our mission and supports backyard chickens and ducks in eastern Iowa. And he cited the success that it has had in many cities and the ability to bring communities together. Even commented on how expensive eggs are and many people sell them or give them away. We received over 500 signatures supporting our backyard chicken and ducks in Fairfax. And I only have one copy, but if you want, I can pass this around.
You know, the back, you know, so you'd like us to recognize it.
It just shows that we have over 500 signatures
Oh.
in support.
I thought it was the actual petition, okay.
No,
500.
that's just the front sheet. Unfortunately, when I printed off of change.org, it has a lot of ads, so it was like a 20-page document so it just shows the number there. So we have over 500 signatures supporting backyard chickens and ducks in Fairfax. Senator McClintock suggested, and this is our ask for today, that we request an exemption or stay on the situation pending consideration of an ordinance change. He also gave us a Marion's poultry ordinance, which I'm also gonna pass around. So this is the one that Senator McClintock gave us that said that has been successful and suggested that we use as a framework for Fairfax. Since school is out for the summer, as I said, I'm a teacher, I'll be able to work quickly and efficiently to work on an ordinance that you all might find agreeable for Fairfax as far as urban or backyard chickens and ducks go under the poultry exemption for the livestock ordinance. So that is our ask for today.
Chris? Chris is our building administrator and we
So
know that
just to
him comment.
remind council, I think in 2018, we had the chicken duck.
You don't need to remind me.
I know Mary Ann and Mike, you're welcome to council, Nick was too. That ordinance, I still have it, if you're interested. It was based on Walford's, which I'm sure is the same as most of the rest of them. 6 birds, all hens. So. anyhow,
That's what this one says.
now you know. Remember last time we were close to passing that, but then 25 roosters, 40. Things complicated.
What happened last time, for those that weren't on the council at the time, primarily Dan and Tom, there were, livestock has not been allowed since 2003. It was revisited, I believe, in 2011 or 13. And it was not changed at that time. Then we reviewed it in 2018 for about 6 to 7 months. Because there was two groups of people, there was chicken group A, chicken group B, they both wanted chickens. They both didn't get along and fought over something as simple as chickens. So at that time, we drafted an ordinance to allow chickens on certain properties that had certain size requirements. The number that they could have on that property. And what I call an inspection or a permit for a chicken coop inspection, so they're not running around. They assured us that they kept them all cooped up, that they took care of them. Chicken group A, 2 of the 6 chickens were killed during that time because of how frequently they got loose. The other group, had 24 chickens, I believe it was, and a rooster, which they removed. And that also was not kept within a enclosed area, despite, being told not, otherwise. Anyway, the point is, what they brought forward, we told them it wouldn't pass, we told them what would pass, they wanted that passed, it failed. 4-1, 4-0. And that's why they're still not allowed now. So we've had quite a bit of conversation in it.
Well, I think they tried pigeonhole the chicken allowance to whole Fairfax and not citywide.
No, at the time it was, you could have 6 chickens or more on 1 acre of property or higher, and if you had 2 acres or more, you could have up to 2 dozen. And then I don't remember the permitting fee for the, or inspection fee for the coops.
I think it was only 25,000.
It was like $10-20, that was not appropriate for their belief. And one of the chicken coops, remember, sir, had tires holding the roof down. I remember.
It got crazy, I know by the end of
Yeah, I talked about it for 8 months, so I remember it very well. So my question to you, and I appreciate you getting the signatures. And this is, I'm not trying to be glib, but when you're researching what chickens do, or excuse me, ducks to keep, did you research on whether or not livestock was allowed within the city of Fairfax?
No, that's my ignorance. I was looking at Lynn County's rules and in Lynn County, they required, the class. And the person that I talked to referenced, Indian Creek Nature Center. I called them, they don't offer a duck one. And they gave me several other, resources to look online, and so I bought books, I did all of those things. Since then, and I've talked to them again, they still don't have a duck one, but since then, there are more online ones. I know that certain, like Cedar Rapids, you have to take a class before in order to get your permit, which is easy enough for me to do with an online one rather than in person in Indian Creek Nature Center. But I do acknowledge that that's ignorance on my part.
Did you say how many you have?
I have 3. So, and our coop, because ducks are 3 square feet per duck. And so our home is a wooden children's play home that I've put up the plexiglass and everything. We've had many people stop by and say, oh no, predators are gonna get in. And I tell them very often the clear parts are actually plexiglass, like they're not gonna get in. And we have all the things. I realized that you've had in 2018. I mean, I think it's worth looking at. It's been 6 years. Many Eastern Iowa communities allow it. I'm kind of representing new residents of Fairfax. We moved here in 2018. So, we've had the ducks for over a year now, so it hasn't been since 2018 since we've had them. But I think it's worth you all considering. I can look at the one you all drafted before and looking at Ely and Marion's and kind of coming up with something that might be agreeable for you all. I think it's worth at least looking at again. I
You know,
know.
the size of your property, it's, I mean, I know it's not an acre.
Right, we're under half
I'm
an acre.
assuming it's around 1 or so.
Yeah, There's various other ones that, are not as specific on the land size. I know Cedar Rapids has the smaller lot sizes and they still have 6 hens or whatnot, so. Hopefully my neighbors here. Want to tell them how they're not a nuisance.
If you please state your name and your address, please.
Matt Hunty, 465 Prairie Circle in Fairfax. So I just wanted to show when she told me she got the letter, which, by the way, I got a letter too for my lawn. It seems like a lot of people in the city got letters the last month. 42. Yeah, 42 of them. Yeah, which, but separate issue, seems a little obscene. But anyway, so I heard that you guys were trying to have her get rid of the ducks. You literally couldn't tell those ducks were there. You're driving down the street walking, they don't make a noise, no smell, no anything. So I don't, and I know the neighbor on the other side feels the exact same way. So I get it, it's a rule, but sometimes you gotta say things out loud too, doesn't really make sense. I say that a lot. And I know across the highway from us, there's chickens, some miniature horse. It looks like there could be a petting zoo out there. So I don't know why that's any different. Someone told me that those are grandfathered in, which tells me that someone made this rule relatively recently.
That property is actually in
That's
the
not
county, it's not in Fairfax.
Okay, well, you should have bought that house. No, you cannot hear a thing of them. They don't smell nothing and they take excellent care of them. Probably better than most cats or dogs take care of this town. So, that's all I gotta say about it.
What species of bird are all considered poultry? I wonder,
In all the ordinances that we've looked at, it's chickens and ducks.
it's just chickens and ducks.
Yeah. So, and most of them are, you know, no roosters, most of them are 6 hens. Ducks take up more space, so it would, as a duck owner, I know I would say like, it would be strict on the coop size and how many. Unfortunately, in some of the ordinances, they're not as strict about that, so I understand like tires on roofs of coops are not okay. We, you know, they're our girls, and yeah, I just think it's worth looking at again. And kind of coming out together.
I'd like to say too, I was on city council when we went through Chicken Gate the first time. And had the factions, Chicken A and Chicken B, been able to get together, I believe we probably would have had some sort of ordinance in Fairfax at this time.
That is correct.
Yeah, so that's just my 2 cents that I'm throwing in there, that maybe it is time to take a look at it again and at least give them an opportunity to do something with it.
Can't have greater name, a lot of reports, communication, stuff like that, and I can tell. I think we all know you're involved in it, and appreciate service for what you do. From everything that you're saying, I believe it, I know right where your coop is well maintained, looks good shape. I kind of look at it as everything you're saying too, you're kind of the gold standard. Right?
Thank you,
You
yeah,
care about what you do, you've
Yeah.
done the research and. So you spread that out through the whole town. How do you keep that?
right, and I understand, and that's where I kind of think that. If we set the expectation with this new ordinance and. Not getting into, you know, group A and B and all that, it might be a good. Time to set that more expectation and.
You get the challenge that I'm
Yes, I
As
understand.
far as somewhere else in town. Hypothetically, this passes and now all of a
Right.
sudden you have a few bad eggs.
Mhm.
No pun intended, right? But. That's what's kind of tough, right?
Am I allowed to say something again?
Absolutely.
Isn't that true for anything? It is.
Which
Mine's
is
hard.
why when we pass ordinances, we don't consider the people who we're not gonna have an issue with, we consider the people who have the chickens running everywhere, crapping everywhere, getting killed, those are the people that we take into account.
Yeah, well, like, so my yard, there's rules around, what I can do and not do with it down the road, there's one that looks like trash, right? No, it's not different, but what I'm saying is no different, or how well someone takes care of a dog. Somewhere around me that they're outside all the time barking around the clock, right, midnight, 1 o'clock in the morning, same thing, my dog's inside all the time. No different dogs.
I guess I'm just saying that it poses challenges, absolutely change going forward, and I think as a council, we're all respectful of all of the residents and how it impacts everybody on both ends of it, and it's not just an easy decision to make. It is to look at all sides, and consider everything.
Well, so then going forward, just consider taking what was going forward from last time in 2018, taking other ones. I've been communicating with some people in Ely, how do they go about if there's a violation, or, like in the Marion one, it clearly states that the chicken was out of their coop and they get killed, it's the resident who owned the chicken's fault. You can't blame the dog that got them or something. Like it seems like that there's towns that have taken into account some of those things. So,
What would you do with repeat offenders? Just out of curiosity. Not to put you on the spot, but
yeah.
and that's a serious question I ask, because that's when we take into consideration. I'm not worried about people like you.
Right.
I'm worried about others, so.
I mean, I also don't, considering too, I don't think that there's gonna be like hundreds of people getting chickens once this is passed. I mean, Fairfax is growing, and I know that it's something that people consider. A friend of mine didn't move to Fairfax. I recently discovered that because they wanna have chickens. And so, I think that first having a conversation with the owner about it, if the neighbors are complaining or whatnot, someone from Kid City Council or whomever can have a conversation first with them. And then give them a letter stating, like, but not an official violation, but hey, this has been brought to our attention. And then going from there. I think that I'm more
Just like the
neighborly.
letter I got.
Yeah, I mean, I'm just more neighborly in having the discussions about it first. And then saying like, hey, did you know that, when you got this permit, did you know that you're in violation of this? And then see if it is fixed, and then if not, then you can do the official violations, but
What was the remedy that was in the letter that you got?
I had to bring it to a hearing in 7 days and then 14 days to remove my ducks. That was it. So,
We're gonna have something in for repeat offenders. So
yeah,
if we're willing to do that with anything.
No, I'm asking if we allow them. What she's saying is, and this happened last time, is you get a notice that you have to remove the ducks, then you get fined. We're not looking just to fine people for chickens and ducks. We have that mechanism in place if we need to. I'm saying, how do you handle with ducks, chickens, poultry are allowed with the repeat offenders? Are you gonna basically tell them you're not allowed to have chickens anymore? You're gonna fine them for repeated
I mean,
violations?
yeah, you lose your permit. I mean, it is animal abuse after a certain amount of time, which I looked up and researched. There have been people that have brought, your coop is not in, that's not a good word for chickens, but you know what I mean? It's gross. It's not.
Free range first, I get it.
Right, so you can take away their permit if that happens.
So what do you guys wanna do? I would not be opposed to.
I'd like to discuss.
So looking at an ordinance that we're suggesting, right?
Yeah,
Ordinance committee.
it just got out of control last time where we said, they kept saying, well, what if you want 20 chickens? What if you want, and we're like, you tried to make the argument that you need to just worry about how many chickens you have and what you want. And not worry about hypothetical other people's chickens that don't exist. And they just went off the rails about what they wanted and what was, and so we just said, we can't live with that. So that's kind of why it just got out of control. But I am not opposed to looking at something where it's 6 chickens and we have some kind of a coop inspection and then some kind
A
of
chicken checker.
chicken checker and some kind of recourse, so.
I'm happy to do that job. If that's what it is.
Good luck, I hope.
Parks and beautification.
Show me an apartment complex, all they go by being a gun.
I think Marion's, ordinance is really a lot like what we were looking at before.
Chris said he had our own ordinance, our whole ordinance. I don't see why we can't just bring that and look at maybe making some modifications. I am not in favor of anything that's over 6. I don't. And the people that have 24, how many eggs are you eating and what is your cholesterol?
Yeah, our 3 ducks make 2 to 3 eggs a day.
They're very good.
Yeah, we give them away to our neighbors. That's way more, and that's only 3. So I think 6 is reasonable, and many of the other towns it's 6.
Do you wanna bring back the ordinance for next month?
I would say we
Yeah,
can bring
hold
that
off.
back and look at it.
And hold off on her violation. We have another chicken violation too, so.
As always, I mean, again, we're not looking to rack up fines on someone unless they're being incredibly bad. So I would say grant or stay while we figure it out, just like we did last time.
Can I say something on the Kirby Rock as well?
Yeah.
Or do not even know her. So I'm Amy Suffer-Hagbell. I live at 439 Driftwood Lane in here in Fairfax. And I would like chickens in my backyard because I'm learning how to garden and become more self-sufficient. I think that's kind of the way our country needs to go, but it's just being more self-sufficient. But also I think as a city council, it would be so smart on your all behalf if you would take someone like her into consideration when you're having these conversations, who's done a lot of the research and who is obviously taking excellent care of her ducks. And include her in those conversations, and she can kind of be that champion for that ordinance or what have you. And if you have people who are violating the ordinance, don't renew their permit. I mean, as easy as that, like you get, you're so many warnings or what have you, your violations, and then it's just done with. I mean, isn't that what we do with our children, right? We teach them like,
Oh, I thought you said remove your permit for children.
no, just don't give them a permit,
I'm not disagreeing with that.
That's what I'm saying, like, if you're sticking with 6 chickens or ducks or what have you, like, that's the rule. She sets the precedent, I think, with her coop and when she's taking care of her ducks. Like, if you want top-notch care, base it off of what she's doing. And then anyone who falls short of that, then you have those conversations moving forward, but I don't think we need to do something because that's just the way we've always done it. That's like the worst thing you could possibly do if you're gonna do one.
Well, we've reviewed it several times since it originally passed in 2003. I don't know how long it's been.
My parents lived in our house, they were the first ones on the street, and we bought our house 4 years ago.
The reason we don't rush the decisions or look at it is because what you just said, not worried about her, worried
Right.
about people who don't take care of it. And then
Exactly.
you revoke their permit, and then since they're children, you're not gonna repeat what people say to
Oh,
us
I'm sure,
when we, tell them they can't have
yeah.
poultry
And
or
I mean,
something.
that's gonna be the case with anything, like she said, that's gonna be the case with anything you make a rule about. You aren't gonna please everybody, but I think it's definitely something worth looking into. Cause like I personally am learning how to garden, and like I have friends that have chickens and their eggs are amazing and they're so much healthier for you. So you don't have to worry about your cholesterol so much. And duck eggs are way better than chicken eggs anyway, so I just.
So how would you like to proceed?
I would say grant a stay on the ducks and then bring the old ordinance to next council and review it for possible changes.
Chris, you say there's a second violation out there too?
Yeah, I don't know, Brian, have we seen that loose chicken anymore? They may have gotten rid of theirs. The other one I know got rid of, he had ducks, he got rid of his, he was down the road.
So as long as the ordinance we're reviewing is the good ordinance and not the cray-cray ordinance, I'm fine with that, seriously.
So bring back the ordinance from 2018.
Yes, and then I would not be opposed to like just reviewing like maybe Marion's or something. So if there's things that we don't have in ours that you think should be,
Absolutely.
then I'm not opposed to that. It's just, it got out of hand last.
Would, if I give you my email,
Yeah,
would you be
that's
able
what I
to,
was
yeah,
asking.
and I can compare it to Alien, Marion and so forth.
Do you want her to come next month?
I-
Sooner than absolutely.
She already volunteered to be the chief.
Yeah, I will.
Okay,
Oh, Joe's got your.
Oh, yeah.
okay,
Yeah. we'll get it.
so you can keep your ducks for now, and we'll move forward with looking at.
I'll bring eggs to the next meeting.
So
Thank
you know,
you.
the next meeting in
The-
July,
The 9th.
the 9th, yes.
Okay, yeah, I didn't know if it was delayed for the 4th of July holiday. or anything like that.
So usually late in the day on the Friday before is when Cynthia posts the agenda.
Okay,
So then you can see what's all on there, have a chance to look through things. That's how we get our information. So, and for everybody else that's here too, that's the way to see what's all going on, right? Word of mouth, sometimes it's kind of crazy, but and then you have questions on there,
perfect.
then you can move along for it.
Okay,
The Wednesday before that meeting is when I like the document between you and Chris tweaking it to be ready to pass. Not on Friday.
you said the Wednesday before the meeting?
Yes,
Do you need that earlier, or you guys gotta be closed Thursday and Friday?
just before.
I'm not gonna be here next meeting.
Here's my chicken gate,
Oh, darn.
I'm gonna phone in.
Anything else?
That's it.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Do I stay to the end?
No, you can.
Yeah, you have to stay.
Yeah. I wouldn't make any moves.
Thank you.
All right, I saw the sheriff, is he deputy still here?
Yep.
Okay, can you step up to the podium, please?
My name is Deputy Kevin. For the month of May, hours were met. The reports from May 14th to June 11th. We had 78 calls for service. Does anyone have any questions, comments, concerns?
We actually. I don't know, at this point, it might be a little early for it, but one of the topics that's coming up next is we've got. Traffic on the streets that doesn't belong there, UTV traffic, mini bikes, all that kind of stuff. Yeah, it's next on the agenda, so. We might be asking you guys to maybe.
Could you stay
Crack
around?
down on it.
Yeah.
Well, I don't, today I'm not gonna be, I'm getting hammered out there and I got some things to
It's
do.
fine,
But
but-
Major Colston would, he's the commander of
We can
patrol.
pass that along the
You
other
have
channel.
the information on what you want to happen out here, help disseminate it.
Lots of kids running around at high speeds and somebody's gonna get
On
whacked.
UTVs you're talking?
I would say also as.
Or you name it.
UTVs and increased patrols on parks, yeah, that stuff. That I would.
We've had some
put that in the
vandalism.
mayor and, yeah, the city clerk. For that.
And also our town celebration is not this weekend, but the next weekend, so. We'll share that information as well, so that you know, that's fine.
Are these people riding UTVs, are they kids or would they have a driver's license?
Some of both, and we're really more concerned about the kids, because they're going way too fast and have no business. Somebody's gonna get hit.
Well,
Okay.
every city has a little different ordinance, so it's kind of hard to keep track of
Yeah.
each one without looking it up. But, I assume they have to have a valid driver's license, obviously, and, they can't operate on highways.
Just golf carts, we don't allow UTVs to.
Correct.
No go in Fairfax.
I don't think that's true. Joanne and I looked it up one day. There's nothing saying you
They
can't.
changed that, yeah, UTVs, the state is allowing it.
State allows it.
Unless you have
State
a home
allows
law.
it.
We have to write it out if you don't want them on the streets.
Golf carts have to register on the highway, but if that's the only way to cross, they have to
Yeah,
find the most immediate
Well,
route.
we don't even know, I guess.
Yeah.
I think the biggest thing is the mini bikes and the kids that have their driver's license on golf carts
Yeah,
going around. I think that's.
and most of them, you gotta have a flag and a slow moving triangle, and a valid driver's
Yeah.
license. But UTVs, I think is. The only thing I've read about in city ordinance to Iowa code is none on the highway, just like you just said. And they can use it, but they have to take the most immediate route to get off of it to wherever they're going.
I think we're more concerned about children.
Yeah.
Vehicles that they shouldn't be in,
Okay,
so.
yep, you have Major Colston's information?
Yeah.
Okay,
Thank
all
you.
right, anything else?
Thank you.
All right, thanks.
Okay. All right, number 9, the discussion of the UTV traffic. Nadine Kirk contacted me a couple of hours ago. Azilla cannot attend this evening. She will let me know if she'd like to be on the July agenda instead, but she's hoping the council will take her email seriously. And I will mention on the UTVs, we are following, as Chris mentioned, you might want to make note of this, the state HF 2130 regulation of ATVs and UTVs, that's HF 2130. In all situations, operators must be 18 and licensed. And Fairfax, golf carts only are required to have a permit, but the cities can have their own ordinance on the ATV. So we'll see if Nadine is able to join us next month, or if she even wants to.
I talked to Nadine last week and said the same thing. The primary concern isn't UTVs, it's kids on quads, mini bikes, golf carts, tearing through there in that neck of the woods, I get that. So I get that, and I told her the same thing I'll say here tonight. You know where it's coming from, like, you know, the residents, you could probably send a reminder. But otherwise, it's asking them to patrol and remind her a little bit more. Because, yeah, there's a few that come up to the intersections, it's a little right. I think it's safe and concern. Lights.
So I guess I have a question for the council. Is this another ordinance that you would like to consider?
I don't think I want to.
Don't we already have one in place? Are we talking about golf carts and stuff?
Well, our golf cart one is just about golf carts. And I was not aware that cities had to take action to disallow UTVs, but I haven't read the House file.
I'm not really interested in, I would want to make sure that the UTV definition is primarily the side by sides, stuff like that, and it does not include mini bikes, quads, trikes, and dirt bikes, yeah. I probably want to make sure that it's not included, and if it's the kids, then I would probably be in favor of probably reducing those.
With a lot of that in Heartland Heights, it's not speed, it's they'll go right through intersections, you know, they'll drive through all the empty lots, which is a little worrisome, because sometimes they're going up 45, 60-degree angle hills. I think there needs to be some addressing with ATVs for the streets, but also riding right through the open lots and Schrader's land.
Okay. Anything else on that before we move on?
So is staff being directed to draft something?
I wouldn't say draft something necessarily, I would say
Research.
review the state law on UTVs and what they define as UTV. And then also, I would say review our golf cart policy to ensure that it doesn't include what we were just talking about, quads,
I know it only,
is just.
just golf cart.
Then I would say, let's start with reviewing UTV, see what they define that is, then get on.
What's less, has that, honestly, it's been in the back a couple of months ago, maybe the golf cart, or just our ordinance on golf carts. Would it be a good idea to put something in the next backs?
We did it last year, golf cart.
Last year, yeah, but maybe since it's that time of year, just to let it be done again. Like that, every spring,
December, January, permits.
or permits, but as far as what the ordinance is right now.
Yeah, I don't remember the last time we ran it.
In fact,
When you look up in our ordinance, it has anything with other motorized vehicles, like the ATVs or both of their
Mhm.
dirt bikes and that kind of stuff.
Yeah, I don't know that we have anything else, but I'll look.
Okay. We'll move on to number 10. Mayor appointment, library board of trustee members. King Moyer is being reappointed. And, how do you pronounce your last name, Kathy? Rue? Rue will replace Linda Purple, whose term is expiring, and thanks to Linda for her service. Kay and Hannah's terms will end on June 30th, 2030. So those two individuals are appointed to the library board of trustees. All right, we'll move on to number 11, discussion and possible motion concerning the 2015 stormwater drainage agreement and storm culvert improvements through private property. A little bit of background on this, before information is shared. This drainage way was established back in 2015 and goes through Van Storage, Royal Pool, and Stark Enterprises properties. And so it's been 9 years now since that was created. Currently needs to be cleared to some degree. There's been some ongoing conversation regarding who's responsible for clearing that debris, and that's what our discussion is this evening. And in your packet, you saw several documents, and some are signed by the property owners, some are not. And we have some property owners here. Would you like to talk?
I have a question. Did we send them a notice or something? How did this get on our agenda? I guess that's my question.
Yes, sent them last August a reminder that they were responsible for clearing the debris. And then this spring was brought to our attention that the debris was still there, so sent them another reminder. But indicating that it wasn't taken care of by X date, that it would be on the council agenda. So would anybody like to speak? Hi, you can say your name and address, please.
Joe Blood, and I currently live up on Ridge Drive, 50 Ridge Drive. But at the time, I was the owner of Royal Pools in the storage. And I'm sure I didn't sign anything saying I was gonna clean that up. Actually, the way it started was Dick Ransom came to me, and the water issues weren't even on my property. He came to me saying, well, they run across other properties, but the easiest route would be, we bring it back past your garages and take it on down to cemetery. I thought, you know what? I was somewhat new to the area, and I thought, hey, you know what, I'll help everybody out. He said he needed an X amount, and I don't remember the number. 5, 7, 8 feet, something like that. Then he came back later and said, oh, we were wrong, I was wrong. I need a little bit more. Well, I wasn't thrilled giving up some of my property anyway. Well, now he wants more. Then we come to the point, he says, I see him again, and he says, well, now if we do that, you're gonna be in charge of taking care of it. Well, the dad wasn't very happy about that, as an understatement. So I know I never signed anything saying I would take care of it. I actually thought everything was on the city. He told me once I was gonna have to do it. I told him, forget it, I'm not doing it. You already got my land. As a matter of fact, I told him, you'll never come to me for anything ever again. You just made a mess of this. That's how we left it. So I never agreed, and I'm sure I never even signed anything saying you guys could have my land, right? Do I have anything in writing? Does anybody know?
We didn't take any property. We don't own the property. The city doesn't.
You're on an easement.
There's an easement.
Well, but I mean, you're the guy, you built it. I didn't build it. And I know officially you didn't take it.
Do we have an easement? Is that what I'm
I
hearing?
think probably.
Do we have a drainage easement?
I guess
Is that what we
so.
have?
Well,
Well, after the residents have an opportunity to talk, I'll get some background and some things to consider.
Okay,
So, yeah, I never said not once, and I never even gave the indication I was gonna take care of it. That was all, and Dick knew that at the time. I made myself extremely clear. And so if somebody has something the next time, I really like to see it.
but anyway, all right, thanks. Would anyone else like to talk? Melody?
Melody Vance, Fancy Storage. I agree with what Bill said as far as, I know we have an easement. Biggest problem area is on my property probably. When they built the easement for Joe, they put a concrete slab where it was washing in. On my property, they didn't. So it's all wrong in. It's steep enough, I can't really get down in there with my skid loader. And it's originally when they contacted me about cleaning it out years ago. I had a, I don't know what my skid loader was then, but I went back and measured the bucket on it. And I said, make it wide enough for my bucket, I will keep it clean with the skid loader. I go out there the next day, I record it, and it's too narrow. With curbs on it, it's gonna stick up that far. And you can't go down off the side and scrape it out. It's steep. I'm not gonna shovel it out. You can't, there's a lot of it, I mean, I can't shovel it out. I don't know what else to do. Yes, I'm gonna do, if I had some equipment that I could do it with, maybe, I don't know. Let's see if I don't have like.
I understand. She needs to come down now.
It looks like there's a drainage easement on Melanie's land. Joe Blood, where the storage building used to be, there's no easement, and actually the concrete's not even up here property, it's on, sorry.
It's,
Yeah, it's on that side of the property line by the sensors.
Chris, are you looking at the assessor side?
Yeah.
Could you, Cynthia, could you bring that up on the projected so that we can all see?
that's what the paper copies.
One of the residents had asked that we project, so.
But in that land records. Across the bottom, down. Forward.
In May,
Down. To the right.
Down and
right.
Go down.
down.
Right now.
Right, straight up, straight up, right there.
And left,
Left.
and.
Oh, there you go.
And.
How wide is that concrete?
Concrete form on the bottom of the ditch, it's at the bottom of the swell, about 5 feet, that sound about right?
Yeah, something like that.
Between the curbs, 60 inches, roughly.
Yeah.
I think it's by 5 feet, it's got a little bit of curve to tie into it, but
That's what the curb.
Well, no, I think it's 5 feet wide plus into the. 5 feet with, it's narrow for bucket. Yeah, I thought it was kind of flat, but.
I don't know, little walk behind ones, landscape ones, they crack that down.
Well, or they go, or something like that.
Or a mini hill bucket?
Oh,
Yeah,
that's not what I said.
Yeah, you get, and then you go right hill. And your ditch is down here, so here. There's that side. On the side.
Live, so. And this is what I do all the time. This is, yes, do you know the address? Well, just one address, will get you the
51,
address.
Melanie, is that your address? 51.
Come on, go on. Is that what you want, this map, this photo, or do you want the map? You said you want, should we go to map?
Go to that, look, county map. If you go there, look, county tab,
I don't,
top upper left, it's order that. Yeah, it's back in the range.
that's what it's bringing up, Chris.
There you go.
You want me in more or out more or what?
You go out a little bit more to the east, the end of the east.
This way?
And yeah, zoom out just a little bit more. Can you make it so it fills up the screen or?
This is as much as the.
So, a little bit of background information. The Harold edition is the subdivision, and they're platted back in, I think the first edition may have been done in the 80s, early 90s. And then the second and third edition were final platted in 97 before the city had any stormwater ordinances. So they're platted and they just sold lots. Somebody buys a lot, they come in and build. There's the requirements back then were nothing like they are now, that we have to show how the stormwater is going to be addressed going through your site, off your site, so on and so forth. Those additions, first point out, the yellow dash lines are the easements that were established with those final plats. So if you go to the north a little bit, which would be Melody's property, right up there, you see the highway. I don't know if you can zoom in onto that lot right there, yeah.
I thought you wanted me to go out.
Well, I hear you.
This is not good.
Anyway, the highway, there's a 48-inch diameter culvert right there. If you're on Melody's lot and you're looking up, you can see it clear as day. You can see it in the aerial. There's an inlet on the north side. There's about 55 or 60 acres that drains from Boland's Field down to that culvert. And it dumps under the highway and dumps out onto Melody Vance's lot. And it drains, before any of this was developed, it drained kind of at an angle to an old culvert that we took out with the East Cemetery Road project. That culvert was 3 foot by 2 foot culvert, so it's half the size of the culvert. So that whole area, and you talk to some old people that have been around, they'll tell you that area was flood. That was basically just a big stormwater detention pond for years. They platted it, sold off lots, and people built in without any sort of stormwater management design considerations. And that area has been a stormwater nightmare for years. And so back in 2012, 13, 14, the city did several projects. They improved the Cemetery Road. Along with it, they did significant drainage improvements. We talked about that a few months ago with the ARPS. And so this was kind of the finale, this drainage improvement project through these properties. And I want to correct something that Mayor Beer said. She said that these drainage ways were established in 2015. That's not accurate. They were established when these sites developed. The city, Mayor Raby at the time, was getting tired of getting calls and complaints all the time about having drainage issues out there. I got to know Steve Wall very well, because at least 2 times a year, if not more, there's drainage issues. So Mayor Raby wanted to see, after we did those city projects, this was a city project as well, but he wanted to see that drainage way cleaned up and improved. And so that drainage way that goes from that 48-inch culvert, and then it cuts south and turns at a right angle east, and then it cuts south. So it cuts south down the west part of Melody's lot. She's got a few lots there, but the one we're talking about. And then it cuts south along Melby's lot and Blood's lot, and Royal Pool's lot. And then it cuts south and runs south along the east property line of Blood's, west property line of Melby Vance's. And then Starks on the south side, so it's 3 property owners, it's the Royal. Couple of Melby Vance's storage sites and then storage site on the southeast property. And it's very flat, there's no fall in it. And what was happening over the years, so that, as those sites, and that's kind of what Joel was referring. They were building those sites, they had to leave room for the drainage to get through there. So since when those sites weren't developed to today's standards, they were just lots that somebody bought and started building. So then Nick talked to Joel and said, we gotta get room in there to get the drainage through. Because it's gonna cause problems for you, it's gonna cause problems for the upstream property owners. And if you wanna get into state law, which I'm not a lawyer, but you cannot restrict flow from upstream, you have to let it pass through your site. So that's when, what Joel was referring to, talked to Dick Manson, that would have been back when he was first building the site. That was before this 2015 project. So then, around 2014, me and Ravy's like, we gotta get this cleaned out. It was all silted in, it was very hard to maintain because it was flat. And it's flat, you can't get in and mow it, it gets grassy, sediment gets in there, and it was all filled in. There was a fence between Melody Vance's property and the Royal Storage property, that was right in the middle of what was supposed to be the drainage way. So that blocked up stuff. So part of this project in 2015, we're like, we can grade it out, but there's no fall, so we just grade it out and we seed it. They're gonna be able to mow it, it's gonna get tall, grassy, sediment's gonna fill in. And you're gonna be able to see it because it's gonna be covered in granite, and 10 years later, it's gonna be filled up just like it is again. So the decision was, let's put in a concrete zone, gives you a good base, gives you easy maintenance, you just, get in there and shovel it or take a small hand loader and clean it out. And in 2015, when this was being worked through, I think was part of the pack, the documents. We got a group signed agreements from Melody Vance and Judith Heisler, which I believe is Melody's mother, that owned the 3 lots. On Vance's storage, they signed the agreement. Bloods and Starks wouldn't sign the agreements. But there was a letter, there was conversations with them, like, hey, we want to do these improvements, make sure the drainage we get through there and they're easier to maintain. And those agreements and those letters spelled out, you maintain them, their drainage ways on your property owners are responsible for maintaining their own drainage ways. And then the city will be responsible for replacing the concrete plume at the bottom when that's needed. And that's basically what the agreements were, the letters indicate. Now the easements that we were discussing earlier, they did put drainage easements on the final plats, but they put no thought on how it's gonna get through there. So if you look in there, from that 48-inch culvert, the yellow dash line along the west side of Melody Vance's lot is a 10-foot drainage and utility easement. And then it turns right. And on the south side of Melody's lot is a 10-foot drainage and utility easement. And on the north side of Bloods is a 10-foot drainage, and I say Bloods, Joe doesn't know anymore, but Royal Storage, Royal Pools. Is also a 10-foot drainage and utility easement. And then on the west side of the Royal Pools, Royal Storage lot. So on the west side of that lot, there's a 10-foot easement. But when it was being built, when Joe and Dick talked, it must have been discussed that that's not the best place to put it, so they put on the east side. So there was an easement in the final plat for drainage to it on that west side. But it's very tight, you can see in there, and I know there's some trees that were planted to the south of that. So it went to the east side of Royal Storage's lot. And so that was the drainage way, and that was all established before 2015. And then Mary was like, we gotta get that cleaned out. We've done these other improvements, but it's not gonna help out Walms, and even, Vance's was seeing some drainage issues, so this project was to help them out. So I just wanna make sure everybody understands that's how this came to be. And it is a very difficult area to drain, but I think, Dr. correct me if I'm wrong, since the city did a lot to improve the drainage, to remove some of the drainage for those areas, drainage improvements. In this small project, the drainage has been better. Now, we get hammered with a 100-year storm, bigger storm. There's still gonna be some flooding in there, you know, unless we completely take out those buildings and redo things, we can't do that, but. We got it with minimum invasiveness on those properties as they were currently laid and currently laid now. You improve the drainage to it, so. Now, when it comes to maintaining drainage ways on private properties, it's typical of the property owners to maintain it. So if the city wants to take over that responsibility, consider you probably setting precedents, and there's a lot of properties in this city that have drainage ways on.
So what's the issue though, the drainage? I looked down, it's clean, so what's the issue?
Sediment gets in there, it's a lot better than it was when we did the project in 15.
Right, but I would have, yes, there's no sediment between Joe Blood and I, that it's all clean, a few weeds, some grass, that's it.
I think what,
So what are you complaining about? Is it up the road farther?
It's my property. It's all my property they're complaining about,
Oh.
and it's only because that one area where it washes away. And when they did it for Joe, when they built it, they put a nice concrete pad there, because that's where it was washing away then.
so on Joe Blood's property at the time, they had. They already had some.
But it-
in there.
It was already washing in, and that was another city council meeting, like that when I was accused of filling it in because I was trying to pull it out.
I can't speak to
I
that,
don't know if you remember that.
yeah, but,
If you have an issue with one person and why, as Joe and I.
No, I don't think-
Bring involved in this, I mean, why waste my time?
my opinion, I don't know all the conversations that have happened between the city and,
Right.
I know.
But if there's one issue,
But,
one person, work with them and get it fixed.
so. I think there's clearly some areas along that drainage where there's some silt, sedimentation, silt.
Maybe.
That have filled in,
Maybe a few
worse
rocks,
than others.
maybe a piece of trash.
but
Nothing in 9 years, I think
Yeah.
it's like a river, once we're there, washes it out. And there's very seldom any sediment that's in there. And if there's an issue upstream, then they should work, the council or cities, work with them and get it corrected.
It's all real clean right now, except for my
And then
property.
instead of bringing Joe and I into this and with letters of recourse and everything else. It's
Well,
never been an issue in 9 years.
today, I agree that end looks pretty good, but we have to look at the future too. This conversation's been going on for 9 years. We need to say who's responsible. So 5 years from now, if it's all clogged up, we know who's responsible, so.
I had a conversation about this in 9 years, just popped up.
It's just a matter of that one area getting cleaned out and pouring a concrete slab. And it'll be just like the rest of it. Because we had the same problem on Joe's property, if you recall, years ago, yours was washing and I was kind of trying to pull it back with the fences and I couldn't push it on your property, so I was pulling it back. And cleaning it out, and I was going to say, do this. And just that one
So
area.
is it missing concrete basin or under drainage basin, is it missing concrete basin?
well, the concrete flume is not gonna. Stop sediment from washing in. I mean, you get gravel drives, I think your parking lot's asphalt knows.
Right, they
So
all,
you're gonna still get washing coming down there whether or not there's a concrete flume
we
from
don't have a
parking lot
problem,
down to that.
they don't have a problem back there now with it, it's pretty.
When-
clean there.
When I looked at it, I think it was last fall when we talked about this. And Lynn went out and looked at it and I went out and looked at it. The biggest area was the location Emily's talking about on her site. And then the next biggest area I think was Blood's Flume, which if you go just south there, so I keep saying Blood's oil storage. That flume right there, you can see there's some sediment and silt built up there too. So the flume itself isn't gonna prevent, the drainage or parking lot, from over time washing into it. And then gets washed downstream, it gets caught up in the corners because that's where the sediment will settle out when the velocities slow down. So it's just a matter of, routine maintenance, and it's a lot better than it was. It's just a matter of getting in there periodically, some locations, maybe it's every couple, 3 years, some location maybe once a year. Whether the concrete flume on Melly's site helps or not, I don't think it would, but maybe it helps get access to it, I don't know.
And all the pictures you provided are all Vance's property, is that correct, or are these also, Royal Pools and Stars?
The bottom.
Oh, on the,
I'm talking about the packet where it says pictures stormwater drainage.
Lynn would have to respond.
Yeah, that was all advanced, the ones I took and said.
Well, at the time this was built, why was it built that size? What was the considerations for the sizing of that thing? Like she thought, we all have equipment that we can scrape that shit out in 10 minutes. Why was it built so small?
And I was on the phone.
I mean, the city made it too small, so nobody, I mean, we're not gonna go out and shovel shit. Give us room for a bobcat to go through there and we'd have it done in 5 minutes. But now you guys made that problem, you cleaned it out.
So you signed the agreement to clean it out. You
Yeah,
didn't
we
say,
didn't
No,
sign
they
it.
didn't, they didn't.
did I not read where?
Melody signed it.
Melody.
Yeah, I first signed the agreement
That
to
was
clean out.
But that was back when I was on the phone with them, with the city, I literally had them on the phone measuring my buckets, I make it this wide and I would be happy to keep it clean.
Like, what was the date that was signed and the date it was put in? Like, if she agreed to clean it out when you said you were gonna make it this big and then you guys made it smaller.
Yeah.
So the plans are provided to everybody to look at, provide feedback, the public process. Yeah, all that information is shared with property owners at the time. And the other part of that is, that was what was there. The only part that we actually obtained more area was on Melody's stuff. Hers was a small 10-foot strip and it was, we had the culverts there, we had the 48, and so we required additional area on Melody's. And then you want slopes that you can maintain. So between oil storage and Starks, you have buildings and pavement and fences right up to it. You couldn't go bigger unless you're gonna have to move the building, move their access drives, move the fences. So then you're getting into big expenses. So there was no request from us at that time to increase the width of that flume, to increase the drainage way. We had to make it fit within what was already there.
There was on my property, though.
There was, on your property, correct.
I did.
does anybody have any idea at all when they designed this? Does anybody say, boy, this will be easy to clean because this is all you have to do? Yeah, we do own machines that we could run a bobcat down there, but now who designed it and thought that width was a great idea?
Well, I think they were just trying to work within the area that they had to work with to get this drainage resolved. And it has helped the drainage.
And the problem, where the biggest problem is on my property there, it's the bottom part where underneath that driveway where those.
Yeah, if you see the number there, Cynthia, that 2 something, that white blue number is just south of that, you can kind of see it right there.
We had to
As you
tear,
put it out there to the left.
we had to tear the fence out and everything, so we had plenty of room to make it wider. That's when I requested that they make it wider and then.
So I noticed all the sediments in that one area, looking on this, are you pushing snow in there by chance?
No, that's where the water goes.
Okay. Cause if you're pushing snow in there, that'll take a lot of sediment with
We
it.
never put snow on before it's gonna melt.
I've seen snow push in there.
Not there, you didn't.
Yeah, I have, I'm not blind, it's there.
No, okay, what you're seeing is a pile, see where the gate is, where you drive through? Right next to the gate, right there, where there's a little pile of millings sitting there. That's not where the problem is, though. It's down the ways. Those millings were to fix potholes, but we put small piles there and then they're gone. We move them after, we get everything plowed.
So you said these exist elsewhere in the city, outside this, right?
Just drainage easements.
When you're
Drainage easements.
But not like this.
So
Typically,
the
they're not
issue
paid.
is
Usually
the
when you
city
design
paid
it.
to fix all this.
I was just curious, cause I thought I heard that there was more than one, so I was like,
This-
what's the width of
This
those?
is after the fact.
So we were going in, building in between existing, buildings, existing drives, existing fences, and doing the best we could to minimize the impact on the property.
We haven't concreted any other
Yeah.
drainage area.
And the other drainage easements are usually done as part of the development, and they're designed to drain and to, based on the width necessary. We only had so much room to go in, and you make it work with what you have. So, if this was being designed nowadays, with the standards nowadays, the developer would have to, their engineer would have to go in and design to get that water conveyed through there. You wouldn't design, because water doesn't like to turn right angles 90 degrees. And if I design the drainage way, and they just stuff the lot.
So,
Actually been back
The
there.
guy that owned all this property, when he decided to sell it, knew what he was doing, because if it's over a certain size and you would have platted the whole thing, he would have hit the criteria where you would have had to address this. Instead, he just did like one lot here and one lot there, and by doing that, he got away from having to do any kind of stormwater,
Well,
anything.
and stormwater requirements were a lot different back then. too.
So he kind of got around it and just sold property, and people built stuff, and then the water that always flowed literally across that whole basin was a mess. It went everywhere.
Basically, the agreement was, and I'm just talking about Vance right now, I'm not including Royal Pool and Starks. Is that we build it, they don't maintain it. We, and when I say maintain, I mean replace concrete as it's damaged. But they maintain keeping it clean of sediment, weeds, buildup.
The concrete at the end, not the whole thing. We don't replace the concrete mill, it's only at the end of the discharge, that's very correct.
What was that?
The concrete that we replace is only at the end down by the floods and, starts, right?
I think the concrete
The entire-
plume- I think when the city deems the concrete plume needs to be replaced, the city is responsible to
Okay,
replace
for the
it.
whole thing.
Yes,
But it sounds like we don't have an issue with the south half.
No, it looks like a lot of the mud's coming from that field across the road too, Cynthia zooms in on that.
Yeah, I mean,
Out of that farm field.
Highway, yes, north.
and you get runoff from the residue, crop residue, you get sediment.
He's talking about where the intakes comes like under the highway
Across the highway.
from the
You can
field.
see it go a little more, there, zoom in right there, so you can see all the mud in there. That's where a lot of it's coming from, is that farm field over there.
Yeah, the areas I noticed when I looked at it, was the north side from the sediment from the fields. Was the area that Melody says that her site drains to, was right down there, north or just south of her drive connecting the two lots. And then that area from Bloods, where the parking lot drains on that, where those were the main areas.
The north end of one, the ones.
And you can see it in there right now, even with that picture, and right there from there on, it just kind of cleans itself out.
Yeah, once it straightens out, the velocity.
Clean it out. The rest of the lake bed, that's straight.
I mean, I assume it's getting mowed, I don't know. I mean, that's part of it too, is keeping it, and it doesn't have to be mowed like a yard, but you don't want it to get out of control that you get. Scrub brush going in there and also the longer, taller grass that restricts the flows.
I know we keep ours pretty well maintained, very well.
So it's really just trying to keep the sediment.
But I don't know, I didn't see anything on the south half. Really.
And that waterway, I don't look at it every day, but it seems like I go by there and I kind of glance up that way. It's almost like it's self-clean for the most part.
I think the straight part really does, I think that kind of part is just clean.
Yeah, it's definitely not near the issue it was before the project was done.
So the part that's clean is the one where we don't have an agreement to keep it clean.
Yeah.
Yes. So
council. What are you thinking at this point? And whatever you're thinking, it needs to apply to all parties so that if 5 years from now, there's a problem all the way along, everybody's in the same boat.
You're saying all the way along.
The whole drainage way. We can't have, we'll clean up. They have to clean out this, but they don't, we'll do the rest, but it should be all the same, right?
You do for one, you do for all.
Right.
well, to me, it seems like the two parcels for Royal and Starks don't have an issue. So there's nothing to maintain or clean there. 9 years, there really isn't anything accumulating there and they're clean. So they're the ones we don't have an agreement with and they don't have a problem. It's all upstream at Melodies.
Well, and if that upstream doesn't get cleaned, then it'll migrate south, and they'll start having a problem if we don't get it cleaned out. Cause that flow's gonna start getting restricted more and more.
And we do have an agreement with Melody that she's supposed to keep it clean.
And then what you said earlier, Shane. Mayor Ray was getting phone calls about all the issues, the drainage issues, so this was put in to help reduce the drainage issues. So it's better than what it used to be. If this was not in there, there would have been a lot.
I can tell you that when we went in and cleaned it out, did this project, that drive on Melodies that right there. The culverts that were there before were pretty much all silted in. That little 10-foot drainage way was the sediment from upstream. Like I said, it's flat. So like a spring that we've had this year, you couldn't get in mowed at all. So then all of a sudden you've got, 15-inch grass. Sediment gets in there, you don't see it. Happens again next year, over 10 years, you've got 1.5, 2 foot of sediment built up in there and nothing. So the flume helps get the drainage through there. It helps, kind of the self-cleaning thing, but it also gives you a base that if you do have to go in and clean a little bit of sediment.
So the city did improvements to that whole drainage swale to help out that whole area. And it sounds like it's working, it's done its job, we just have an issue with maintenance of it and keeping it clean.
But just all drainage, everything that's man-made needs maintenance. I mean, and it's just a matter of who needs to take care of it.
Right.
Or does the city, I guess one thing you consider is, does the city clean this and send them an invoice? I mean, if that's a concern for them, I'm not saying that's what we should do, but. If they're like, we don't have the equipment, whatever. We'll send the city down and clean it, send them an invoice or.
I told you I would clean it. I don't have a problem cleaning it. If you would have made a fine, I'm not gonna do it.
So
That
that,
wasn't part of the discussions at the time that I'm aware of. Everybody had a chance to talk to them about what the plan was.
how often does that fill in? Let's say that's cleaned out tomorrow. How long will it
We
take to
don't, we
get?
haven't
What-
monitored it,
Yeah,
tell you
you're-
if it's.
So that's 9 years worth, right?
Yes.
I can tell you the 3 points that, the stuff coming from the field to the north. That location that Melody said were site drains right there. And then the slump site memorial storage, that all, those are the areas that see most of it. I think Stark's property and Melody's property is east. I think all that drains to the east away from there. And really the only drainage that gets there is from the stuff from Austin. A little bit from the backside of the building. Those are the 3 areas that, if you wanted to on a routine basis, go clean it out.
Is it such that we can do like a big silt basin or something, like in between the outlet and the ditch and her property? To help keep some of that sediment off, like from going further than that?
The silt basin you want on the north side. Right.
Well, I think
So
the
that's
farmer's
the
side.
one location, but I think
DOT and
it's talking about under lot. Where it drains to it.
I don't know what year it was, but it was, I know it was Brian here, I think he started in 15. So somewhere 16, 17, Brady had us walk in and clean it. So we have cleaned it once, sometime, it was similar to what it was now. But I can't remember what year.
I mean, I would assume if you did it once a year, it'd be fine.
I think so. I don't know.
I don't think it's like, you have to get one out on rates.
Yeah, it's just depending on a lot of conditions.
Can I make a suggestion? One of those landscaping skid steers that you stand on, not a bobcat, probably fit right in there. Just throw it down there, one of the track machines. Take care of it, no problem, because the buckets are probably at least a third smaller than a regular bobcat.
3 or 4 foot.
And if it's just silt, that'll take care of that, no problem, just run right down the whole thing.
Put together red one.
Well, I know, I'm just saying, if the concern is finding something to fit in there to clean it out without having to hand shovel it, that should take care of it pretty easy.
But that one area is still gonna fill in over time, quite a bit. I mean, you could put a concrete slab there in the back, like.
Well, the sediment's coming from it. So if you put a flume in, it's still gonna sill down into that. You know, if you put a concrete flume to be right down to the bottom of the swale, it's still gonna flow down the bottom of the swale.
It helped tremendously with the property.
When I walked the site, there was still sediment on little storage property there. It's just not gonna, so that side embankment, you can see on Jones, it's a concrete flume on well storage is. On yours, it's eroding, so you're also getting washed off your parking lot, but you're getting the sediment from that embankment where it's eroding. So the flume would help keep it eroding.
Council,
If the city were to clean the house, how long do you think it would take?
That's how we did it. We probably end up either renting a bingo or sell off by hand. So, if we get money. I don't know, there's not a lot of them out there.
Then you set precedent. Then you set precedent for every easement to now be the city's project. As opposed to how it currently stands where it is the property owner's responsibility to keep it clear.
But is there an easement that looks and acts like this? Because
I can tell you 50 years from now, but who puts 293 turns into a waterway.
so was that a proposal, Dan?
Well, it's going on with that 50 years in the future, and you said that we wouldn't build one this way today, right?
Yeah, state standard, no, because if you want to get a final flag, you'd have to make sure that you address the stormwater drainage and provide that appropriate easements. Where this was platted, and then they sold the lots and built them, there was no design for the sites until they, built their sites. And that's when they laid out the drainage that they had.
It doesn't seem like this clean out is yearly issue, right? I mean, it's, we get a 500-year flood, who knows, but on an average, whatever average is anymore, it doesn't seem like this problem will show back up next year this time, so.
It could.
Well, they're always good.
I think you would anticipate having to get out there. Clean it.
If you clean
To
up
this
once,
extent,
if you clean up once a year, it'll be easier and then
well, for sure. I look at big picture, I look at the city redid this whole area to help with the drainage for all the properties involved. And Melanie, I understand your issue 2 inches wider, you probably wouldn't be here. Why they did it, I really truly can't believe Dick Ransom would say, let's just go 2 inches shorter to make it difficult. I don't believe that.
It was all good.
Yeah.
Slopes beautiful.
But
That's all he would be said. You don't really retaining wall, but you kind of, then you go wide, and then you have that.
Yeah. we have what we have and we just have to go forward. I'm not comfortable with creating precedents here. I'm just not, but doesn't mean it's something that has to be cleaned out every single year. I don't know. I mean,
If Travis has a solution where you can actually run something to, for a half a day that would clean it.
Yeah, it wasn't a 50 like backyard gates.
Do you just volunteer Travis to do it?
No, I'm just saying that that's an option
yeah,
for someone other than us to do that.
yeah, I don't want to.
And that's what I was
make that
looking
an
at.
Huge issue down the road.
I know.
That's the thing.
Yes, right.
So we've got a solution, it's just I don't think that we should be paying for it.
Right. That's a.
So 5 years from now, if the problem is at the other end,
Same thing.
same thing, okay, that's. Okay,
And maybe the three property owners get together on this, okay, let's clean out from the bottom up, and they all share a cost, that wise. right?
I don't think we should-
Everybody, yeah.
I think we should do specific about this. One sec, I don't think we should do specifics that should be applied to every drainage problem. How it gets handled ultimately with these three or one or whatever, it's ultimately their business. I think we take the entirety of the town and who's responsible for drainage.
I want to he's back, just said a phone call this year.
Sorry, go ahead.
He's here.
I was just gonna say, after when I moved there, I had zero problem with water. I had no problem. What happened was it did come on Melanies and it went over to Cemetery and it took that angle across there. I never had any problem with water. The idea was, hey, we can't sell the lots unless we take care of this water issue. Can we come down that property there? So I give up the land and now I'm expected to clean it. I didn't have a problem with water. And somebody said, well, they keep having issues with water. Well, I never had any. And now I'm expected to keep it clean.
Well,
I would like to, I don't understand that.
you know, to his point, the water's coming from north. It's coming off Melanie site a little bit, but I think most of the water's coming from that far field. Oh, it's accumulating over the years. So if Melanie keeps her end of it clean, these guys will never see any issues running down there. Now, Melanie, I understand you got skid loader. They make different size skid loader buckets.
Yeah.
You could possibly buy an arrow skid loader bucket, get in there, get that thing clean, maintain it once a year, and the problem solved.
Chris, I wouldn't even do that if we just, we're not concrete.
If somebody candies and nuts, we don't have a Merry Christmas, but the concrete's there. The concrete's there, so what do we have to do with that?
No, I don't mean without all the sweat. I'm talking about concrete going,
You can pour more concrete on your site, you don't even need a permit for flower.
I'm just saying, you guys did it for them, you didn't do it on my property, and now we have an issue.
Yeah, I wasn't here at the time, but I see the simple solutions. Get a skid loader bucket, and everyone will get in there, clean it once a year, and it's, you know, eventually Boland plant will develop. And then the problem's gonna go away, because you don't have road ground. That all depends on when that's opened up and when we get the rains. So if he's got that all worked up and not anything coming up, if we get a good rain, that's all coming down that waterway.
Or getting washed off, always correct not, or getting washed off with water storage.
But to me, that seems like the easy solution. Get the bucket that'll fit in there. I'm sorry that they didn't pour it the way it's necessary, but I don't know what a skid loader bucket costs. $1,500 maybe.
Well, again, you don't have to buy one. I don't know the cost of rental of one track suggested, but if that's a once every couple of years.
The irrigation one, you could rent one for half a day, probably.
So again, it's not the individual that we're talking about. We're talking about the whole, we want to maintain the current agreements that we have with the easements, where it is ultimately our responsibility to replace concrete and the owner's responsibility to maintain. Now, that probably won't affect most. In this case, it probably won't affect Royal or Stone ultimately. That's where it's coming from. But again, the person that signed the agreement agreed to take care of it, to remove sediment buildup and be built up. And
If it doesn't work right, the water's gonna flood on her property. That's why we put that in to begin with, because the drainage wasn't addressed when they started building the buildings.
So Mike, did you just make a motion?
It's not just my problem.
so is there a motion required, or is it just maintain its current agreement in place?
We need to state something so everybody knows what's expected.
Then I would make a motion that it is the city's responsibility to maintain the flume and replace, perform that necessary maintenance, and then the owner's responsibility to keep the sediment and other obstacles clear of the drainage.
So basically, you're saying abide by the signed agreement.
Abide by the signed agreement from whatever it was, June 2018.
I'm gonna get the feeling on the one to sign it.
So there's a motion on the
Property owners are just fans.
Wouldn't that be all?
Oh, we don't have signed
We
agreement.
don't have signed agreements with the other two.
I have, it's telling me, yeah, yeah.
Do we have a motion on the floor?
So were there actual notice of violations sent out for any of this?
Just still no notice.
Just courtesy. Notices.
So if there is a violation on split property, who is the violation?
I don't know that that would end up in a violation. I don't, that's something that,
I mean, they complain about the weeds and the grass and the food, but then if Jono would trim it down his side, and I do it on my side, or if I don't do it, he does, who, you know, who's gonna get fined? You know, I mean,
Well, we seem to be.
Mowing is
Mowing yards,
different.
right? I guess, saying it's been an assessment.
they're complaining about the weeds, they're-
Just to clarify, the motion is only for Melody and not the other two.
It's to abide by the agreements from 2000.
Or to maintain the ordinance on each side and,
Keep in mind, I signed that with the agreement, it's gonna be wide enough to use my property. And my skin.
do you have any documentation to prove that?
I was on the phone with.
So no.
And it was put in and nothing was said until then.
All right, in the interest of moving on. We have a motion on the floor, which again, Cynthia, could you clarify that motion again, please?
Motion by Daley to abide by the signed agreements for 2015 for the drainage way. Is that correct?
Don't need a second to move forward.
Second.
Have a second? All in favor?
Alright,
Set five. Set eyes on everyone. And then you. Okay, motion carries. Thank you, everyone. Move on to item number 12, discussion and possible motion concerning the 80th Street repairs quote. Lynn's got some information.
Police are here.
Lynn, could you pull the mic down just a little bit?
Yeah, Brad here too, the kind of, talk about, the bids, and kind of brought up last time. Okay, table it for one more information, I sent you pictures. Did a little more looking at the square yard compared to square feet. So we did some comparisons that way, it's like, Brad kind of talked, if there's two the areas that were in question, we weren't quite sure of what was going on.
right.
Here you go.
So in my bed, I went out to the center line, the other bed is 8 inches thick and, we're only going 4 inches thick because 4 inches thick will last 12, 15 years, which will be plenty good enough. That'll last just as long as the rest of the road. And, 8 inches thick, there's no need for that because, it's not necessary on that type of road. And my bid, we're doing twice as many square yards. For, I think, less money too, in that, so, and like I said, we're gonna do twice as many square yards, and in my bid, I identified the 3 areas. Other by house 4507, there's 2 driveways there. On the lower driveway, we're going all the way to the gentleman's concrete approach, his concrete drive. So we're doing the radius up to it, and then the upper drive, we're doing the radius going into the drive there, and then down at the highway at, what's that, North Williams Boulevard, where the people come down, they hit their brakes, and everything. We're doing a pretty good sized patch there too, but we're gonna mill that, and I've been doing this for 37 years, and I've looked at it, and I feel milling it down 4 inches, that's gonna last longer than the rest of the roadway, because probably another 10 years or so, you're probably gonna be doing something with that roadway to begin with anyway, so.
You were even thinking 3 inches.
At first I thought 3 inches was gonna be enough, but, then, we talked about some more and I came back with 4 inch bid.
That was one of my questions. You had 3 on your original bid.
I had 3 on the original bid.
They
And
went
we
from
four
6 to
get
8.
four line. Yeah.
Yeah.
But 4 inches, like I said, you'll get plenty of life out of that and I went to the center line too, because, by going to the center line, the whole road's gonna ride better that way too than just going just a small patch in the rut also.
But Kelly is only went about 7 foot off.
They're only going about 7 foot wide just doing the rut and so forth. Yeah.
I'm not an expert. I know nothing about this other than what we talked about
Right.
here, but my zero experience, we have right off the edge of the road in about 2 feet. Explain to me why go all the way out to the center line. You're going out.
Well, that's a lot wider than 2 feet. If you go out there and measure from the edge of the road, that is broken up at least about 6, 7 feet in.
Can you
And a
pull
lot
that
of
up? Because he's right. If you pull that up and look at it, it's not like this. It's,
Okay, so it does go to the center line.
Yeah.
And a lot of times
he's just gonna
where,
take it all the way over so you don't have this.
and a lot of times where you look at that where it's broke up about 7 feet in, when you start tearing that out. And you just go to that 6, 7 feet, a lot of times I've done patches on streets over the years. If you just go to that 7 feet, within a couple, 3 years, you don't realize it, but that base is also getting bad on past that. So about 2 or 3 years, you're back on that street, doing a patch beside that patch. Okay.
The shoulder's probably 4 foot just by itself.
Right.
Right. And then you've got the road part.
And so a lot of time, you're kind of doing some preventative maintenance by going on past that bad area. And so by that time, you might as well just take it onto the center line and you're taking care of that whole bad spot. So like I said, I've been doing this for 37 years and I just know what really works the best.
Just compared to square yardage from the Pelling one to the Leesner one, he had 316 square yards, not doing it as thick, but doing more area at a cheaper rate than what Pellings did for a thicker rate in a smaller area.
Right.
So
Like I said, I've been almost twice as many square yards, and like I said, this is gonna last just as long, if not longer than the rest of the road around it, so. I guess you're getting more bang for the buck, what we look at it.
So my only other thing is we had $25,000 kind of in street repairs for this upcoming budget, so if we eliminate part of it, I'd probably eliminate the part down by Women's Boulevard.
One's down to south.
Down in the bottom, but put these two up at a house, I would do those.
He said those are the worst here. Yeah, those are breaking up the worst.
So split it up, maybe.
You could,
Yeah,
you know,
you can pick and choose.
so you could do the bottom, they're in order, the 3 items in order, you could do the bottom 2 on either the 3 and 3 or 4 inch. That would probably help the budget the most, and then we could still do some crack sealing or possibly other repairs as needed. So we don't kill that 25,000 right off. the bat.
Yeah, we talked about that last year, but it's already.
So the first item on either page, that's probably what I would take out.
So you just looking to do the 19,000 by the 2 homes.
Yeah, either the 19 or the 13, depending on what your thickness that you.
But I think,
4 inch in my mind.
the 4 inch would be the better, and here's the thing, on the area 1, you probably can get by with 3 inches.
Oh, the first one.
Yep, on an area 1, you probably get by with 3 inches out there, 'cause that's not broke up as bad, so if you wanted to mix and match. You take the first proposal, probably do 3 inches on area 1, but definitely do the 4 inches on area 2, so that'd be an option. You could look at
Yeah,
too.
but if we did that,
That
you're done.
Yeah, they're gonna kill your butt.
When did
Area 1 on
When
the
did we
first.
think they're gonna pay that?
4,000.
Because that's a Lynn County thing. It's on there.
It's a us thing.
Yeah.
But I mean, it's
So
still
you're
very
like,
on there.
if you're getting like 3 inches,
It
if
is.
you want to.
I'm just trying to
say
think
no,
when.
then I know what you want to do.
Just like 17, maybe we could do the 3. Look at the last.
I use that route about every day, coming south on
Yeah.
80th Street, to Williams Boulevard.
But that,
And you
but that
really
would be thrown out here too.
Right, to Williams Boulevard. Most
But
of
the
the
area
cars
going up the hill,
I
actually back.
turn right. Because
because the traffic gets so backed up there. So in my mind, in the future, that intersection, when you do it, you need.
So if we do 3 inch and 3 inches, it's the 17,787 include all 3 locations.
Repeat that? Oh, yes.
Yeah,
Yeah, if you do 3 inches all the way, that would be the 7 feet.
yeah.
So everything to do the 3 inches in Hopeland County and Fairfax replaces it, because did they say they were gonna do super three eventually, or am I?
We are gonna have to, they are gonna replace that. It's just when, and I know it's on their CIP.
But in an effort not to kill your budget, you said maybe hold off Williams down here isn't as immediate as what it is up the hill.
Yeah, I would be fine holding that one off another year.
So that would get you down to 13,
13, but would
be just under 14 also. You'd be better with that.
I think
Yeah,
either
that
one needs.
Yeah, that one could go for a while. That one-
Either way, it needs
That
areas
area
in my
one.
mind, but I would be 4 inches better than 3 inches, no doubt about it.
Well, they're gonna do a white topping on that down the road, you think?
They are gonna pave this, that
Oh, they are?
80th Street gets paved.
How far down the road is anything?
It'll probably start here and it'll go the other direction, but we have to pay because half of
It's a
that
5-year
belongs to
program,
us.
is it?
I don't remember, but I know it's on there. I know it's on their CIP plan already. It's on their schedule. Cause they've already warned us it's coming.
And soon I would see it more than 3 inches.
Yeah,
It's
so-
7 years down the road.
Trust me, the rest of that road's gonna fall apart too. So are we fixing stuff on their half or our half?
No, those start parking. Once you get past that person, that's their problem. Past that property.
Past that house, yeah, right, I know that small.
They're, that east side is their.
House, north side down. is-
Yes,
Yeah, I guess in the 5-year plan.
Yeah. well, that's what I'm thinking. If it's coming up sooner, then let's push it to the 3. But
I think a lot of what drives that is traffic. And I couldn't tell you how much it's up that way, it's a lot,
Yeah.
but enough to trigger them.
You're gonna fix this and the rest of it's gonna fall apart,
I thought
so
they
it's
all
all
paid
just
their
gonna
part.
be.
A few years ago.
I don't have.
We stopped because we want to cut that hill down, I know that.
Yeah, they stopped on our end of it, but I think they did their going north. But you know, from the pet grooming place, Heartland Kennels North, county did that, I think, 3 or 4 years ago.
Repaved it.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's also, I don't remember.
Do we have a
Look out
motion?
the window.
I would just move to do the 3 areas for the 17 and call it good, be done with it.
You're saying 3
Then
weeks.
option A, your budget line 17.7, or cut it back and just do area 2, not by the house for just under 14.
Mary Ann,
By the house.
The 2 by the house.
I motion to do all 3.
what's your motion?
I motion to do all 3 because I think that area down at the corner is just gonna get
It's
worse.
gonna get worse. It's got worse since we tried to patch it.
Well, that's the one area that everybody comes up with stuff, yes.
So
So if we're gonna, honestly, if we're gonna fix any of them, then.
doing all 3 will make.
Because I can't bring the mail back in a couple years to do that.
Well, that's the other thing too.
Back, come back in 2 years, it's gonna cost you a lot more.
So.
So as long as he's here, you might as well do all 3.
Motion to do all 3?
For the
With
7,
3 inches.
the 3,
For 3.
the 3 for 17, whatever.
I second that.
Okay, all in favor?
I.
Okay, thank you. Okay, are we clear? You can email it tomorrow.
Yeah,
Okay, tomorrow, that's fine. I don't get to. Ready to get it.
thank you.
Thanks for having me.
Thank
Yeah.
See you, folks.
Okay. Move on, item number 13, discussion on sign regulations. Who's taking this, Chris, are you? Okay.
Yeah. We had a lot of problems with the sign regulations lately, signs in the right of way. And then the wind driven signs, we were asked to put it in front of you. At first, I had no objections to the wind driven signs, and then I drove by, go back up, Cynthia. These 2 sites in Cedar Rapids, and I thought, well, maybe this is why they originally put wind driven signs into the Fairfax ordinance. Because you know someone's gonna go too far with it as soon as you allow it. So these are the wind-driven signs that right now are not allowed at Fairfax, is what you're looking at.
So they are not allowed in Fairfax?
They're not allowed in Fairfax.
Since when?
Yeah.
It's in your packet. I didn't write the sign ordinance.
We went over that up here on, when there's some of those lots right up here.
Yeah.
Right, voters have them. We've been through it a lot.
Who's the developer up here with all?
Manager.
Well, I just think it's funny because my parents have one of those large floppy men thing and they every now and then throw it out.
So you want to specifically allow wacky waiting, inflatable waiting on the two man?
They inflate it for a day or
So
two.
there's the sign
So
ordinance.
here's my thing. I don't have a problem with, I get that some of those were crazy because there's just so much. But I think there's some in between. I think to say you can't have any of them is. On some things like, so can you have garage sale signs up? Can you have realtor signs up? You can. So like on some of these things, if it's just like for a graduation party or. Like if there's a time limit, like I know we used to do like banners, you could only have banners up for, what was it, a week or 2 weeks, and then you had to take them down. You know, so you couldn't leave them up long enough to where they would get ratty.
Well, I think this is. Ones that are, I don't wanna say permanent, but they're longer standing than a graduation or a birthday. It's. The ones that, I don't even remember how long it's up there, long there.
So I think that was our intent, was those types of signs are okay, but they're just not meant to be a permanent sign. Because they don't hold up and then they get to looking like less than.
Are you looking to modify the ordinance then? And put a
Possibly.
time frame on there?
Possibly, let's let our person talk.
Amy would like to talk?
Yeah, so I'm Amy Stoffer-Haglow, and I live at 439 Driftwood. I also own Grind Coffee, the mobile coffee trailer that's here in town by the Dollar General. And I was not aware of this kind of ordinance. I'm a very new business owner. We haven't even been in business quite a year yet. So I'm learning all these things as I go. I have got a feather flag that's red, white, blue, says open. It is only out when our business is open, otherwise it is down and put away. And one of my employees was told she had to take the flag down. So we have taken the flag down, but I will tell you, on the days that I did put it out, our customers and sales increased immensely. Because it's visible. I mean, I thought just us being there all across the street by Dollar General and on Highway 151 would really help bring business in. But really, I noticed it when people coming from like the south side, when I put that flag up, could tell I was open. Because I tried first putting like a neon on the back of my trailer with an open, but sometimes the way the sun hits it, whatever, same with my neon in the front of my window, people can't always tell. I mean, yes, the window is open in the front if you're coming that way so you can see it, but when you're coming from the south side, you can't always tell if we're open. And we're kind of a seasonal thing, so if we're having bad weather, we're not gonna be open. But I feel like having a feather sign that is not ratty, like you were saying, it's only out when my business is open. What's the problem with that? Because aren't we wanting to, bring people like to businesses within the town? I mean, that's what my goal was.
Is when you're able to have a sign out is what brings business. I would.
It does help.
It's not so much a feather sign, it's a sign, a big sign that you have to show, and I definitely understand that.
But I am mobile, so I do leave sometimes for like events and such like that. So the feather flag is really easy for me to put out because we have like a small stake in the ground, which we also have a little flag by so nobody mows over it. So that way we can just stick it out and put it in when we're open and there, you know, so it's not like an eyesore or anything. I mean, I don't think I really want anyone waving all crazy like those other flags, but if it helps bring you business, then.
How big is the sign that you?
I think it's the feather flag, it's 12 foot tall, maybe 9 feet tall, ours is shorter. Yeah, ours is shorter than your guys's, but like I said, it's only there when I'm open, because it literally says open on it.
And it's not blocking any view of
No.
turning traffic or anything, I mean, our sign
It's
is
on our side of
4
the
feet
city.
from the back of our tree.
Yeah.
What are you thinking, Mary Ann?
Oh, it's not blocking.
I think a little common sense.
But any
sometimes goes
intersection
a long way.
doesn't.
Yeah.
Well, that's not how you can write the ordinance.
I would like to amend for some common sense.
Chris and I kind of started talking about this as well, because the farmer's market uses one of those feather signs when they're open. They're open 2 hours a week, 6 months out of the year.
So do you have a feather sign ordinance where it says you can only have a feather sign out for
Business
so
hours.
many hours in business hours or so many hours a day?
Not allowed that out,
Well,
period.
she's
Well, that's what
asking
I'm
what we
saying.
would
So
change.
what can we change it to?
Say 2 business hours. I mean, because that's when you're gonna want people there, right? It's during business hours.
Now,
Or,
did that-
or do you say not to exceed so many hours per day? Because
You need
what
to
if
read
needs
the
to be.
ordinance, because that's the part you have to change. The part highlighted is what you have to change.
It's the wind driven.
Wind driven.
Or mechanic.
I mean,
Or mechanic.
that's what I was gonna say, like, American flag is when you're in, so what's the difference?
And please, council, whatever you do, don't do what you're talking about right now. You can have it open for 4 hours, because someone's gotta clock them in and out. And guess who gets those calls?
Yeah.
The chicken checker.
Yes, again, you're sick of being the
Full time, so I can have a chicken checker on the flag.
What signs are allowed in the city's right away now?
No sign.
No signs at all, no garage.
But we're talking
Well,
about wind driven.
So, yeah, no, they do allow, like he said, realtor signs, like they can put
Not in
an
the
open
right-
house.
No, no,
Right. They're
Right.
not leaving their car.
Put them in the right.
I've got
But we'll get to that.
my hands slapped, and that's because of obstructions.
Well, it's the
What's
city.
allowed
of
in
Ocean.
park?
The city of Brighton requires.
And those Friday night food trucks, those guys are gonna bring in feather signs.
No, I'm organizing that, so. And mine's the only one that'll be out. Cause I'm the one who invited the food truck.
But you don't think they'll wanna bring their sign?
No, cause it already says open.
Well, I'm not saying it's a bad thing, I'm just saying, you know, an example, but,
We're
instead
trying
of
to
doing it by
encourage
hour,
stuff. I
you
don't
want,
wanna.
And then another thing I guess to try to keep in mind, council, is you do have fireworks vendors in town. And remember what they like to do with lights and wind driven things.
yeah. So,
What about your citywide garage sales?
Yeah.
You're gonna say no more garage sales?
I mean, like in the farmer's market, I have one, but
I got state sale signs and they took them. And so they say you can't allow state sales, but you're allowed garage sales, citywide garage sales signs.
well, did you put them up in a right of way, or did you,
Well, it's off the shoulder, you know,
so on a right of way?
still on the right of way, yeah.
my flag's not all the way.
That's a distinction I'm making, I'm saying,
Oh, sure.
we're talking about what we're gonna allow on the commercial or whatever property,
Oh,
right, well,
right.
I think it's separate.
Separate
So I
issues, yeah.
understand what you're saying.
There's another ordinance section you're gonna see for that part. The sign in the right of way.
Which I think should be amended in 3 days a week or something.
So what are you looking to change for this one right here? I would agree, we don't need a, I can't think of a.
Like a time limit.
Yeah, so it's something that would restrict it, but at the same time, you're not going out there like 6 at 1 AM. They got 6 hours that we're on, you know what I mean?
Do you just say during daylight hours, that they can't be up after dark?
I like to have a fireworks or it's in a 1 PM.
I don't know.
Winter, the daylight gets darker.
We're open to suggestions. Do you have any
Okay, good.
Yeah. Suggestions?
Thank you.
I had some.
Okay.
I'm Mike Beamuth, I run Music 151 right across the street, if you're unaware. So you asked for suggestions for what to do about this. So it'd be section 168.05. I would suggest that in view of wanting to support our businesses and wanting to help us reach out and attract people, it's only by attracting people do we survive.
Exactly, yeah, 100%.
So I suggest in 168.05 that the items be repealed. Number 1, number 4, number 6, number 7, number 9, oh, I'm sorry, not 9, number 11, number 12. Now, I realize some of you will lovingly jump down some rabbit holes on some of those, but those are my suggestions.
Can I ask why you wanna repeal obsolete signs? Didn't you say repeal number 11?
Oh,
And
I think I'm looking at an old one, I think I'm looking at 2017, I'm sorry.
You just got it, I was like, why do you want obsolete signs though?
Whoops, yeah, I think I'm looking at the wrong one. I think I pulled up the 2017, not the 2019, I'm sorry.
You like nostalgic signs.
To be specific then, I'll give you words instead of numbers. Mobile signs, that's what, that had number one. Flashing signs, that's a rabbit hole I'm sure you'd love to jump down. Let's see here, what is it? Number 6 was any sign except menu boards emitting sound.
That's number 7 now.
That's number 7. Oh, okay. Signs which revolve or swing with normal wind currents or mechanical devices. Temporary signs, roof signs. In the interest of, in the interest of just supporting us.
I mean, I post, social media content on multiple Cedar Rapids and surrounding area pages. And I have tons of people who come to our coffee trailer telling us, oh my gosh, I saw your page on this, or your post on this page. So we're bringing people, and I think Mike is as well, for his music lessons and such and recitals, that we're bringing people, not just Fairfax people, but all over, coming out here. And once you get someone out here for music lessons, maybe they'll grab a coffee, maybe they'll go for ice cream, maybe they'll go for pizza at Star Bar. Like, I think we all want to support everyone's community business.
And the only way we can do that is by grabbing their attention. And, a feather flag is an awfully good way to grab their attention. But there are other ways too, and that's, even the tube men, you can laugh at them, but they're a great way to grab people's attention.
And even if we're just allowed to have it up during business hours, I mean, to me, that I would appreciate that.
So can we do something like that where they're just open, they can have them up during business hours and then, and or have language that says if they get faded or tattered or like kind of like a flag ordinance where you can't display them anymore.
What about the flashing signs?
I think there's some we need to take a longer look at because
I'm not crazy about a flashing sign, because depending on where it's located, it could bother.
Well, it's in Mikey's ice cream shop.
Does he have a flashing one?
Yes, he does. It was open, flashing.
So the basic thing is, how many restrictions do you want to put on Fairfax businesses? That's my basic point. How many restrictions do you want to put on people who are trying to attract folks from the surrounding areas to come to Fairfax?
And I don't think. I won't speak for everybody on council, but I will go out on a limb here. I don't think we wanna hurt business. Right? No one does. We wanna grow, we wanna attract people. That's a no-brainer, in my opinion, my words. But to what I said about Deanna, and when you spoke about the ducks and chickens. You guys appear to be the gold standard, right? Now, the picture that was the mechanical where the guy's waving up and down. You try to draw some boundaries here is what we're trying to discuss is how much. You just mentioned 1, 5, 7, and 10. That's a big hole. That's a lot to chew off right here as far as making a big adjustment. As far as how do we tweak it, I think is what Mary Ann and Mike are talking a lot about, and what can we do to make it better and more.
Yeah, see, I would say if you had a flashing sign that you would have to limit the size and the location, like it could only be in a commercial area, it can't be bigger than X.
So I think something to keep in mind when you're reading through these things and why these were restricted. It's not to limit businesses advertising. I think this has to do with safety.
Yes.
Do you want your drivers coming through here at 45, looking at all these feather flags and big men flapping in the wind? Or do you want them paying attention to the road? No problem with cigarettes.
Well, I'm just saying that there's, common sense would tell you that you can have both. That we don't have 20 floppy men and we don't have 20 feather flags.
Not
One
yet.
But
feather,
you could.
but that's what I'm saying, the common sense, we just need to write this so you can only have X amount on your, at your business, you can, they can't exceed this size, I just think there's room here to
But
figure
every
it out.
business along with one
There you go.
one could go to the maximum number, and then you would have a fairly constant. market.
So what?
So you have
So
one.
what if it goes with that?
I just,
Trying to grow.
again,
businesses
I
and
just
bring
wanted
people
to
here.
point out that I think these were written for safety reasons on the road.
I'm okay with safety on the road, but we're trying to attract people. In order to attract people, you have to get their attention. Tube men, get people's attention, feather flags, get people's attention, flashing signs, get people's attention. We're trying to bring people here, otherwise we die. Businesses go away
And then people move out of town.
and people move out.
Can I ask you?
Go ahead, Trevor.
Go for it.
So, you know, I agree with Tom, we're not, the city's not trying to restrict or harm businesses, and a lot of these ordinances, were put in place for safety. I think what we're asking, and is just, maybe the business owners get together, we'll take a look at the ordinance with somebody here at the city, decide, maybe try to come up with an action plan or what works for everybody, so we can make some common sense decisions moving forward, because they are right. They're passionate because their businesses, they're trying to survive. I've been here a long time. I fight to survive every day, just as they do. I have it a little easier because we're established, but I get where they're coming from. So I just think we need to take common sense approach, look at it, see if there's anything we can change. And, you know, at the end of the day, it has to stay the way it is, then I think we could, as a business community, possibly accept that. But we want the opportunity to take a look at it and see if there's something we can change to help our business. That's all. So,
I mean,
I don't know if you guys agree with that. I'm not speaking for you.
No, I
That's
totally
just for
agree
me.
with that. I would like to be part of the conversation,
Great.
instead of this, like I said, ignorance on my part, like not knowing there was even such thing as a sign ordinance about that, cause like I'm new to all of this. But like even the city, you guys have a sign out here that has words flashing across it, so like, is that more distracting to a driver than my?
And that's
Red
why,
light
that's why I
green
think
flag.
we just need to sit down as a
So,
group and
yeah.
really take a good look
We
at
could
it.
just be included in the
Besides this, because
conversation.
if I had a flashing sign, Kathy would hate me.
Yeah, oh, I bet you she would.
So, so that would be my suggestion. Sit down, look at it, see if there's something we can all, feel good about and move forward if possible.
I mean, I don't think anybody here can disagree on changing that, so.
So
We just have to decide which ones
but it was here before
I
I
want to modify, which one is on is there. Sorry.
No, this ordinance was, we changed a lot of it.
Yeah, we could.
Because
I think the only thing about sitting down with a group and reviewing
It's
it,
harder.
it takes another 30 days before it comes back, and then maybe another 30 days. So everything that they're talking about attracting to their businesses, now you've taken 60 days before you've allowed them to put a sign out front that may help their business.
So are you saying you'd want to do an exception to an exemption?
Well, I
This
think
would be
you
similar?
could, because originally this really started with the feather flags, and I think you could do something with that, or at least this part of it. In the ordinance, it says the city council has the right to waive that restriction. Again, though, it takes 30 days to come before city council to have that waived.
So I mean, we just.
Can we figure
just did-
something out
we just
short term?
did- We just did something tonight with ducks where we are
Yeah.
waiving or granting a stay while it's decided. I don't see. For this, I know it's just one example, or a couple of misdemeanors, but
Yeah.
And just as a suggestion, that might be a good way to, if you, give these businesses a stay and allow them to put those signs out, to see what the stewardship would be on how they put those out and how those are maintained, yada, 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 while we figure it out.
I 100% agree that signs like that do help attract business. I mean. Our sign out there, it's not a flag or anything. It's been there 25 years, and you think I can get. Uber Eats or Grubhub too. Oh, I forgot. To figure out where the shop is, no. That's a story for when the camera stopped.
Okay,
So Mary Ann, what you're saying, how about we go to number 10 that's highlighted? We suspend number 10 except for not allowing mechanical devices. Well, that's the wacky inflatable flailing or flailing tube thing. I think that helps with the business owners we have here, and then we work on it going forward.
I think the only mechanical device in town has been grandfathered in them,
The
which
banks.
is the
Yeah.
banks.
Rotating
Yeah,
ATM
that's-
machines.
That's the mechanical.
Maybe city halls.
Put it my inflatable.
I was thinking that would be local.
I just want one.
No, that's not mechanical, that's.
Well, I guess I looked at it.
Yeah, I guess, however you wanna call
Yeah, it does, it is mechanical, it's a road.
Hmm.
Okay, let's do something here, we have a lot, we have a lot.
Or
Separate files. I think they'll.
I just wanna have Chris not go forward with the enforcement until.
Yeah.
You meet again to discuss the ordinance.
it. There you go.
Yeah.
So they're allowed for now, and you guys decided?
Just on the
someone
Fairfax.
offered free eggs earlier, if you're offering.
Let me tell you, the markup on coffee is sort of small, the markup on coffee is real small.
No, I would say that, motion to not enforce the current penalty while we review ordinance, whatever it is, 168, et cetera, et cetera.
The sign.
16805, on what is prohibited and what is allowed.
But just go by in general. 160.05 in general. No, something.
No, not 165, because there's a sign on here that says you can have a sign that makes noise. And, that.
Well, we just have to be
doesn't seem like a
careful
great
because if
idea.
someone pops up some a sign in 2 weeks, then you're.
You want a sign
What
with
do you do
Joe
about it?
yelling from it 24 hours a day? No, no one does.
Are you just saying specific to item number 10? Otherwise.
Yes,
Yes.
I would say for now, just, we're going to. We're not gonna have him enforce item number 10 for now, and then
Review.
for temporarily while it's under review.
Okay.
Is that correct
Thank you.
verbiage? Okay,
But Chris, you're in the second part to this discussion.
Is the right of way section.
The right-
Well, what, we have a motion, we don't have a second
Oh,
or.
I'm sorry,
I'll say it.
all in favor?
aye.
Aye.
Okay. All right.
Yeah.
The second part.
Second part is deciding the right way, do you want to pull up that
Yeah.
code section? I don't know if you can read it, it's highlighted there. Setback requirements for signs cannot be in the right of way. Again, I did not write this, I'm only responsible to enforce it. We do get lots of complaints. I'm pulling signs in weekly up at Hartman Heights for sure. We get complaints from the ones on 80th Street here that Mr. Stark puts up. Those usually go up on weekends, so I just get to hear about it. They're usually not up. They were up this last Friday. Maintenance guys pulled them for me. I believe Mr. Stark has them back at this point. So I don't know what you guys want to do with signs in the right way.
What signs at Heartland Heights were you pulling out?
Usually home for sale, open house, you name it.
Wash your bin.
Tree mowing, yeah, wash your house, any,
Paint your house.
who knows? It's endless.
Garage sale.
Garage sale, yeah.
So here's the problem with that, we can do whatever we want, but the challenge is everyone's just gonna go around and stick signs in. And your only recourse is to go around and spend all your time pulling the signs out.
When the guys mow the city property, they get pulled.
But you know what I'm saying? So either way, you're gonna be pulling signs out, whether you take exception to them or not. It's a question of how quickly you're gonna have somebody run around to do that. I just think we have other fish to fry.
Can at least not like businesses that are here to at least put their signs up. If they're gonna allow realtor signs, and especially for garage sale signs too.
Well, we don't
We
allow.
don't.
We
Well,
pull-
that's what I'm saying, is we don't allow it, but people do it anyway.
Right,
And your only recourse then is to have somebody police that and go around and
Right.
pluck signs all the time.
Right,
Which is
like
happening.
in the city, they'll
Which,
allow
don't we have better things to do than pluck signs, and do they really stay up that long?
Well, if we're mowing them, yes, we do need to pluck them.
Well, then they pluck them when they mow. But to have somebody just literally spend time running around and plucking signs,
We only pull the ones on the city property that we mow.
and I know it's
Pull
not,
any others.
Then I mean, during garage sale days, then, you know, we had to see like garage sale, I thought everybody don't put your garage sale signs up, then, or you're gonna make an exception for that.
Well,
I put mine up every weekend.
we already do make exceptions for that, because that's why no one's getting 1 million tickets for parking on no parking areas during the drive.
Right, so, I mean, you gotta just make an exception for one day, not for everybody else, I mean, it's a business. That way run, there's other people that have sales in their houses too, that do our online sales or residents of Fairfax. So if they're business ones, and you know who I am and what I'm doing, we have estates every week, and auctions, so. You know, can I get an exception? People who have businesses have exception, not too sure.
Where are your signs specifically? Can you give me an example?
Well, one's on the corner of my property there in 80th Street and Cemetery, the other one is down on 151 in Cemetery where Pay Supply used to be. And then I have one right across the street here.
So if his was not in the right of way, but he had permission from the property owner, it would be
It could
fine.
be on the property owner. It can't be in the right.
So do you have a problem with that?
No, but he's so far back, it's 10 foot back, and people ain't gonna see him.
Well, maybe you should get a waving wacky arm.
But I'm just saying that, you know, we're respectful, we got good signs, we pick them up, but you know, take them down. You know, we put them up when the weekends, we have an auction or a sale. You know, and seeing the garage sale, people do the same thing, most of them are pretty respectful of the garage sale. I mean, the other ones are solicitors, yeah, those should be pulled. You know, they're soliciting, they're not even from this area, they don't, because it's here, they don't live here, so, you know.
Besides the two corners, are there anywhere else that you, we'll just use an example now, are putting signs up?
You know,
3 corners, one down where his property is too.
yeah, one is right across here, in the corner of my property. and
So
then-
yeah, the corner of 80th and Cemetery,
Yeah,
and the corner of 151 and Cemetery.
In 80th Street, 151, right there.
80, okay,
Right by Novak Electric.
okay.
yeah, the corner.
You get a call every time. Every Monday morning.
So the other, as Chris mentioned, the condo association at the Heartland Heights, they're required to mow the right of way, and that's where all the signs get stuck, so.
Right.
We get complaints from them, all the signs are there and they want to mow.
I just don't, I understand the problem, I just don't know what kind of common sense, how you deal with that, that you're not making more of an issue for
You could
yourself.
get rid of this part of the sign ordinance. You could allow signs in the right of way. It's one way to do it.
Would you allow them just for the weekend, or would you do it all the time?
Well, I
Usually
know
like
the
the birthday
open,
parties and the garage,
Everything-
parties, it's all right.
Most of your realtor open houses, say, oh, guys, it's always gonna be.
Weekend, yeah.
So you maybe allow them Friday through Sunday. You know what I mean?
I'm gonna be busy clocking in the flag, so I'm not gonna be able to keep track of signs. And the chicken.
Yeah, political signs are exempt.
I believe that's.
Yeah, political signs are exempt. You should know that.
I don't know.
Political signs
Get
are
rid of it.
exempt. For what?
They can't be on the city.
They
right?
can't still get in the city right away.
Right, that's what we're talking about. Yeah.
So do we just get rid of this because you can't, I mean, you
One of the
can't
things that,
enforce it.
that Chris brought to my attention on Friday was American Legion's pancake breakfast.
Yeah.
They have.
Signs are everywhere.
But here's the other thing is, how many decades has American Legion put a sign in the right of way? And then all of a sudden in 2024, they were told they could no longer do that.
Well, even the Fairfax sign fun days now, they have out front by Casey's.
Yeah.
That's on.
But I understand Chris's issue though with it. That's the code. And then that's black and
We
white.
can't
You either
do
can
it
or
in
you
one
can't.
part of town and not the other.
Yeah.
Well, here's the thing, you can take this out and it's not gonna make a bit of difference to the people that are plucking signs in and out of your locations. That's. It's kind of like,
I get rid of it and just, you know.
Well, you're gonna take away the staff's ability to remove them when they need to mow,
Right.
they're gonna have to put them back in?
well, then just leave it and we just wanna enforce it unless they wanna enforce it, I don't.
I don't know if that's the best idea.
I don't know if
We
that's-
enforce it when we feel like it, I don't know.
Well, if they do need to remove things to mow them, do they have to put them back or do they just, can they?
Well, I hate putting certain time limits on it, cause it just creates a mess. are you looking, since we're not mowing on the weekend,
Right, so I mean.
Right, there's no.
so what? Friday
So do
afternoon
you-
till Sunday night, if you don't get it by Monday morning, if it gets buzzed or confiscated, TS.
Or do you just do verbiage that if they're, like, they can be removed by the city if they're an inconvenience or just some kind of,
Or safety issue,
yeah, some kind of issue, like some language that allows them to.
Maintenance or mowing and we'll not replace them.
well, we have a policy in here, whatever you're gonna do, I reached out to the other building officials group that I'm a part of with an email, of what do you guys do with your city? And here's the biggest response that I got back from them is this policy that I put together for you.
Is that?
Yep, so
Also,
this is what other cities are doing.
Yeah, about taking for 30 days and giving back. Yeah, right, that one.
Yeah, and then after the second offense, we
Yeah.
throw them immediately.
Yeah, I saw that.
Well, can we just change language that says that they may confiscate? And then everything else still applies? If confiscated, that all that whole timeline, but they don't, that way they wouldn't have to be
This is just
confiscated?
the city owned right away. It's not the right of way in general. Well, I guess a lot of it's all city owned right away.
so you got,
Highway.
you got a corner in the shop somewhere for signs?
Well, DOT.
Yeah.
It'll be, yeah, it'll be outside the file and hopefully they don't blow away in the lagoon. Then we have one more.
Right, I mean, that's my only thing, is if you wanted to put something up like that up, so they have that they have the ability to do that, then just say, change language to say they may be confiscated, and if they are, then everything applies.
So we.
I just feel like
Or
this
do
is
we-
creating a headache for
That we don't need.
city staff that we don't
Oh, yeah.
need. If we want to do anything, is you get it on the weekend, and if you lose it, tell.
I don't care, I just think it's a lose-lose situation.
There is no good way around it.
There's one.
I just don't wanna make more work for these guys.
Right.
But you first
Plugging
ordered the
out
sign,
police
then you damaged my sign, and what happened? Yeah, well, we contacted them.
My concern is not with your guys' signs, right? You pull them out and put them back in.
I mean, keep
You look at the
the
stump removal, you look at the realtor signs, all these, and all of a sudden they start stacking up. They've been there for
Well,
2,
keep
3
your
weeks.
ordinance right now, just make an amendment, say you can just have them, Friday through Sunday.
It's
You know,
somewhat
they're doing the
clean
amendment
now, but you pull it, now all of a sudden you got.
You can do the,
Leave it or make a motion, fellas.
One year, we did
Just
have a
saying.
problem.
We got lots to do yet.
We had a problem up in Heartland Pike
It's not
where the
bad.
snowplow took out some in the right of way that we had no idea they were there, they were under snow. And that person was fit to be tied. He had a lot of money on those signs and he was trying to make us replace them because he had them improperly installed and then you're blaming us for his damage.
But keep your ordinance you have now, make an amendment, motion for amendment, that people that put them up Friday through Sunday, and they don't blow up by Sunday, they use it.
And we are not responsible for damage, any kind of damage for any signs placed in.
No, we told them that, it's not happening.
So what do you say to the condo associations if they wanna mow on Friday through Sunday and there's signs in there in the right of way?
You mean we wanna mow?
well,
No,
no,
condo association is
there is
responsible.
no
for
easy.
We
easy
can't
way to write
control
an
what they
ordinance.
do.
That's your own personal.
But if it's in the city right of way,
It's not personal property, they're,
That's right.
they're mowing city property.
they're mowing city,
They mow it right away.
they're mowing city right of way.
That's me, I just ripped them out.
I would say thank you. Do what you want with the signs. I don't. The world is your oyster. Someone give a motion here. We got lots to do.
I think we leave one.
Got a motion?
Well, you don't have to have a motion to not make a change.
No.
I,
No action?
Just leave it alone too, there's no city staff here on the weekend to.
My point, I've said it a lot of times.
So is that your wink and pointing at your nose?
Yeah.
yes.
Can you
I,
hear that?
I believe we're not gonna take
changing
any,
the policy, but nobody's here on the weekend, but we come in at 8 AM and 7 AM on Monday.
I leave, you put them on Friday morning.
Yeah.
I leave about 11.
so I believe we're not gonna take any action on this item.
And then also, if you leave it the same, if the condo association pulls it, the sign's not allowed anyway, so they're not in
But
trouble.
if we are allowing on the weekend and then the condo
Yeah.
pulls it, then
Yeah.
into this big pissing match
Yeah.
about who's responsible.
Right.
So don't change it.
No action
No action. That was a lot.
on the right of way, okay.
Yeah, won't be mowing or anything when we get it.
All right, so there were. So number 13. There's a stay on the feather signs. And the.
That
Under
was
further review.
Yeah.
That was 12. 13 is,
No,
No, 13 is all.
13 is all.
there's two parts to 13. yeah.
Two parts, A and B,
alright, well, then go.
and B, no action on the right. Okay, number 14. Fire hydrant locations in industrial zone property. Shane said that's back into his emails that it's up to the fire department and Chris.
I never saw.
Nobody really understood why it was on the agenda.
Oh,
I asked both groups.
all right.
It's all right.
So can we table that?
Moving on.
Yeah, this is kind of. We're moving ahead. Let's move on. Let's not.
So no action?
Get a little more information. Really don't have discussion. I guess there's nothing to ask. John gave us some stuff from the, International Fire Code, that's some specs, but we haven't adopted the International Fire Code, so.
As far as where they have to be placed or why they have to
How
be placed where
how
they
far
are.
apart, and it has to do with the flows of their fire pump, so there's some math into it. But I just got handed this at the beginning,
So it sounds to me like you need to figure it out, but just not today.
not today.
Okay,
I thought Shane Wicks was gonna have stuff for that, but he didn't.
Okay,
okay.
moving on to number 15. Also, council had suggested that Chris prepare some ideas for a rental housing regulations. It's on here as an ordinance.
Yes,
Council,
and honestly, I didn't get a chance to read through a lot of this. I did get it put together. I was on vacation and I've had a lot of other problems to deal with, nuisance wise, sign wise, what else have we talked about?
Yeah.
I'm fine with you doing the first reading, but
I would agree with
that'd be
that.
my recommendation.
Wait,
I
no,
was gonna say.
wait a minute. Is this all you wrote? You're just adding a new chapter?
Yeah.
Well, you have to have the subsections and all, you have to have the chapter written.
So the chapter is written. It's just not on that ordinance. The chapters in the attachment. Correct.
This is the only attachment to this topic. Is it down here?
I don't know, Tina put this stuff in there. The entire chapter was given to her,
Well,
not as part of the ordinance, but as a separate doc.
Do we have?
all we have is a resolution about the
have any
fees
way
and
to
the
find
form,
out how many rental units we have?
and this is
in
an
our-
ordinance,
discuss this.
but you haven't put the chapter.
Well, the chapter was a separate document. You were the one that
Why
helped
am I
with the
thinking
chapter.
100?
Remember the 124, getting them all lined up?
Yeah, but it has to
Units
be in
in
this
properties,
document.
first properties.
It's part of
That's
it.
what I'm saying. What this would.
Well, it's a separate doc.
This, do we have to go
Chapter
through
one.
all of ours?
sounds like we're not ready to talk about this.
No,
We
you
don't have
you
enough-
can make a motion on this.
Well, that means that, yeah,
Well, there's just some other, like, so do we have to like literally inspect every apartment and condo up the hill? Cause it,
It's every 2
If
years.
it's a
right?
rental.
They would all,
By,
they would be inspected.
if that's how you choose to write it.
Yes.
okay. Well, I'm
So-
glad we're not gonna do anything with this right now, cause I had some questions.
They were not given that chapter.
Well, it was written and submitted with the.
Well,
How much?
Please try again.
Yeah, no problem.
15 and 16.
Okay,
Is this
No.
the same, written the same way?
So I can say that.
That chapter in there?
Thank-
No, it
No.
just says the new chapter's added, so it's gotta be right here.
That's
Is it?
15,
Oh, and it has to be right there, not a separate document.
Right.
Oh, sorry, I was getting excited. by the accent.
Okay.
No more vacation for you.
Get vacation.
No more vacation for you.
all right, so no action on 15 and no action on 16. We're not ready to talk about it.
Okay, 17.
Or 17.
Or some.
Housing, we need
Or-
15 out of it.
No, 17, we can't.
I'm gonna talk about 18.
Well, you
I
can't.
think Amy wants to just talk a little bit about
Sorry.
So it's, are we on 18 or 17 then?
both. About mobile food vendors,
Okay,
just share information.
Okay, so,
please.
I am trying to organize, obviously, the Food Truck Friday out by my spot, by Dollar General. And I had a gal that was supposed to come out to this Friday.
who, which actually, all of them have made the comment to me about the whole bond and transient merchant license and all of that, because I struggled with that when I first got my permits and everything last year. I really feel like when you guys were looking at taking on the DeWitt, permits and all of that, ordinance that they have for mobile food trucks, that is not very user friendly for us either. Cause I even mentioned to Chris, like, I don't have to have a fire suppression system in my trailer because I don't have a grill or anything like that. Or do you guys consider a fire suppression system and fire extinguisher? Because we all have to be like checked off by Lynn County Public Health, and that includes the fire marshal. So I would just really like to be involved in a conversation about changing the rules with the mobile food trucks and all of that stuff. Because we're not transient merchants technically. When we call the state senate's office to get a bond, they're like, well, you don't need that. Why? They sent me my check back last year. And so I just went and got a bond through an insurance company to satisfy your guys's policy.
I have a question. If she gets a permit from Lynn County Health, just like the restaurants do, then why would we require that she do?
Vendor permit?
You just want them following whatever rules Lynn County, and you don't want Fairfax to have any input on the regulations?
So I'm just saying, so just like a building, like a restaurant, what else do we make the normal restaurants do that they? Do you know what I'm saying? Get what I'm throwing out?
I mean, and also you're raising my annual fee from $25 to $150. And I don't know if I said this before, but the markup on a cup of coffee is real small.
So I was more like,
So, let me
you
give
know,
you some history on.
a normal,
local
if
food
like a normal
vendor.
restaurant has X that they have to go through. So are we making them do more over and
We're not
above
making
than what?
This was brought to the P and Z by someone that wanted to start a mobile food truck park.
Yeah.
That was Michelle's favorite.
Which is a public meeting, you were more than welcome to be there, but we didn't start this. They brought it to us. They wanted to do it on Zach's property next to the Dollar General.
Yeah.
P and Z listened to the pitch, instructed me to go find 6 or 8 different ordinances for mobile food trucks. Which I did, they liked the DeWitt one, they made very few changes on it, so there were 2 meetings right there, 2 months in a row. P and Z worked on this. Once P and Z made the recommendation, what's your name?
Amy.
Amy contacted me and wanted changes, and I said, I can't change it, P and Z already made the recommendation. So, that's the
And
background.
I had no idea. And
So this got dumped to you guys after P and Z looked at it, made the recommendations, whatnot.
And when I saw it, I think it was in the facts that I saw it, I reached out to Michelle Ehlers, who I think it was who came to you about it. Because she came to me, because I was looking for people to bring a truck out by me, which is over on Zach's property, which is I rent from him. And she told me I don't go to DeWitt anymore because of that regulations with DeWitt, because it's not user friendly for us. And I'm like, she went and did this, and she's causing my permits to go up and like all this additional stuff. And it just doesn't have to be that difficult. And I would feel like, since I'm already in semi-established business here in town, I just want to be a part of that conversation, and I had no idea that was even happening. So, I mean, now she's supposed to come on Friday for our event, and then 2 Fridays, and now all of a sudden today she's telling me I'm not coming because I have to get this bond, and it's gonna not be worth it for me and all this stuff, and I'm almost like, well, we need to make some kinds of changes to this, but I don't know that going straight off of the DeWitt one.
So what is the bond for?
Either.
What kind of bond are we requiring?
Our code has a chapter that addresses peddlers, solicitors, and transient merchants. And they're considered transient merchants. And as part of that code requirement, they have to file a bond with the Secretary of State, which is an insurance paper from their insurance company to file it. Then they also have to show us proof of different types of insurance with certain limits, such as the vehicle insurance or a workers' comp if they have employees, commercial liability. So do peddlers, they don't have to have the bond through the state of Iowa, peddlers don't. I'm not sure about solicitors.
Transient merchants don't either, because when I called the state center office, they.
Our code requires it.
Crazy.
The state code might not require it, but our code requires it.
And what is the purpose of this bond?
I didn't write the code. I read the
I
code.
mean, I
and
know,
tell them
I
what
know
the
what, I
requirements
know what
are.
the purposes of the bonds in my world, but I don't understand what
I feel
this
like as
does.
long as I have city of Fairfax listed on my insurance, you know, that should be sufficient. That's like how Cedar Rapids does it. You add them to
Like your
your
certificate of
insurance
insurance.
policy. Yeah, and
I
then
don't
you
understand
send
the
a proof of
bond
that.
portion of this.
I mean, cause I just paid for my bond last night for this next year, cause I've been trying to get all my stuff in order. Cause that's like another $100 I really could go without spending if I didn't have to, because like,
I can
I
tell
don't
you
know
that the peddler, solicitor, transient merchant, I would bet 95% of the little towns, or maybe all towns in Iowa have that same chapter. People chirp about it on ClerkNet all the time, you know, how did you, and I almost never see any deviation. I mean, it's, who knows when it was written or that idea was put in place, I don't know, but Springville had it when I was there. This has been here the whole time I've been here.
Good Lord, it's the monkey thing.
I would also think, Cynthia, that unlike the Star Bar, who pays taxes in Fairfax, and we see that. Any sales that are at, and Amy, you may too.
Oh, I do pay taxes.
Right, no, I understand, but I would also think that your home office address is a Fairfax
It is.
address.
Yeah.
So some of these food trucks that are coming in will not have a Fairfax address, so their taxes don't necessarily come to Fairfax. We see no benefit monetarily for them to be here, and most of them would come in, grab their piece of the pie and leave without having any sort of community involvement. Amy does have community involvement, and I know that firsthand that she does. The Star Bar has community involvement, Dollar General, all those businesses that are in Fairfax and are Fairfax businesses. But the food trucks that come in don't, and so there's gotta be some way, I would think, of us monetarily having them have some sort of skin in the game, so to speak.
so
That's, without it being $150 maybe either.
yeah.
And I don't know if that's the right amount. I'm just saying that there's something
The
that,
bond just, they have a certificate of insurance and they have a Lynn County public
that's-
health, and we do some kind of a inspection, some kind of fee.
I get a
thing.
permit, I get a permit, it's $25. And that's what I paid the city last year. And that's what each of the food trucks that come out to Fairfax pay. They come and do the same process I did.
And then,
But they're
for
really,
a year.
and it is good for a year, and I do tell them that, it is good for a year, and I've told them that. But the whole, just the extra work they have to do to get this bond, and then they're calling the state senate, and the state senate telling them, you don't need this, why are you getting this, and because that's not your type of business.
It's Secretary of State.
Whatever, sorry. But, so
the bond
it just
part
seems like
is-
a little much, but I tell you, like, on last Friday night was our first time we did this, and the other food truck that came out, like, there was a lot of people within the area that came, and a lot of people from Cedar Rapids, and a lot of people from Amana that came to Fairfax. So I'm trying not necessarily to make sure that the food truck, I guess, they do have some skin in the game, because let me tell you, when you start a business, I put a lot of skin in the game last year, and I am still working full-time to most of the time pay my payroll and my rent and everything else. So you have these people that come and make this food, and it could be a flop, we have no idea.
but
So they're taking
they
a
don't
stand.
leave anything in Fairfax. When they leave, they take everything with them. They don't leave anything in Fairfax, unlike you, Amy. You leave stuff in Fairfax,
But they're
because
coming-
this is where your tax base is.
coming here as well and bringing people here, because the guy that came last Friday has a good following himself. So
And
then
those
are
people are
like,
not
"Oh."
leaving anything in Fairfax, they're leaving it with the food truck who is taking it away with them when they leave Fairfax. I'm not saying I'm against the food truck, that's not it at all. But I think as a Fairfax business with a Fairfax address, $25, it makes sense for you. But somebody that comes in from Marion and is here for 2 nights a month, and only pays $25 for an entire year, and takes everything else with them and does nothing else for the community. I don't know that that's fair for us either.
So,
So Mary Ann, you're looking to get rid of some of the requirements, red tape.
The bond is just
And
gonna
are we
be,
looking
serves no purpose.
just the one yearly permit fee? Or what are you looking?
So what else do we have? What else do
Most
they?
towns will go annual fees, and then, I pulled up Cedar Rapids, which I just, because it's like what a lot of places are based off of, but it's big, and it's a lot more expensive than we would be here in Fairfax. But they have a lot of good, regulations and things, like where they can be parked, how long they can be parked there. But Cedar Rapids charges $500 a year, and that I don't think will get anyone out here, so we have to keep it affordable. And I don't disagree with you, Joe, that like maybe for someone who isn't a resident of Fairfax, maybe there should be a different fee for them. I don't disagree with that. But I do think that something we don't have to go straight off of DeWitt's policies, because I think there are some things in there that could keep.
A lot of people came to the food truck that went to
Mikey's
to buy.
Yeah, and they came.
And they went to Mikey's for ice
cream and.
I was in.
It was pretty
You know,
packed. I had
yeah.
one of our employees, I told her to head over there and she grabbed some food for the food.
Yeah, she did. Yep, she stopped and talked to me. And yeah, I mean, they were busy and then like, I didn't know Mikey's was opening Friday. So then once I found out, I was like, oh, make sure you go to ice cream for dessert, you know? So like, we're passing that word along too about all the, because I do think food brings food to town. But I want to keep it affordable, but also make sure that I'm not, for lack of a better word, screwing myself either.
So we do one of two things, we either have the low permit fee annually. Or we have a 2-tier one, like 25 for local residents and then 50 or something for your dog park.
And most of these require, like you're required to do a certificate of insurance.
Oh, yeah, yeah.
And then
We have to
you
have
wanna remove the
insurance
bond.
and,
Yes,
yeah.
the bonds.
So remove the bond, and do you want a 2-tier system or 1-tier? And do we care that much for getting a few, I don't know how many long-term, if we wanna revisit, again, all things are in perpetuity until we change our mind. So if it takes off and we're getting way too many, I don't know. I either see you just doing 25 per vehicle or 25 per Fairfax, 50 per
Do we
out
have
of
any
town.
kind of language that mandates like how long they can and can't stay in a place, so they can't become entrenched somewhere the temporary?
The EMT wanted to move nightly, gone at night.
That
See,
is
that's, she
unrealistic.
can't do
for
that
me.
either.
Yeah, I can't do that. That's unrealistic.
I would just say it would, you know, like as a temporary thing, you wouldn't want it to be there for
Because when I
months,
do like
but-
a food truck Friday, that's a special event. So you could call it a special event, and then it would have to be moved, like most places are like, you have to move them every 3 days. So that's but I'm also renting from the Sabatsky, so that's like, it's not on city property either.
Right, I get the nightly thing for parking on the street side or something, you know.
Yeah. That is where like. The food truck that I invite out kind of parks in like our other little driveway that's rocked right there, they kind of park right in front of it. And then when we're done at 7:30, they pack up and leave. So
How long do you stay?
I stay till they're done too, so I.
But I mean, in general, how long do you stay? Like a week, a month?
It changes, like I have an event this Saturday, so I'll be gone on Saturday, but then I come back Saturday night and set it back up. But I'm trying to stay open all year long. I was closed for a week in January when we got all that snow, but it's staying there, shut in
So
snow.
during the winter, would you move?
I try not to if I can help it.
Do you know what I mean? So you don't wanna say you gotta move monthly if,
I mean, it depends on the weather for me a lot in that situation.
So we have graduation parties or weddings or something, you have at a house.
If it's on private property,
It
I
has
don't
to
want
be, so if they pull up on the street,
I don't.
Well, the food truck thing's gonna be on private property.
Yeah, I mean, it's Sabatsky's land over there. That's why I rent from.
Yeah, I agree.
Well,
We're not-
that's what the ordinance is about, right?
That they brought it up.
so the
We
ordinance is
just-
only if you're on city property
No,
or,
No, that's not how it's drafted. You know, it's unfortunate it was not in the packet, so you could see it. I would just suggest, do you want them to go back to P and Z and ask them about revisions and then actually have the ordinance for you in July? Cause you should have already had it in your packet.
But they've already reviewed it and they've come up with that, their version of it, and I can just tell from this conversation, we're not on the same page.
Beyond the bond, what's the current permit fee annually?
$25.
For record?
So what was the 150?
That is what the new proposed one is.
In the food truck,
In the food, I'm
transient, peddlers, solicitors, I think it technically is a $10 application and a $15 permit, so it's $25.
Hey, can this go back to P and C and then I would strongly suggest you go to the meetings to fix.
Yeah,
Well,
I'd love to be in.
and
touch with that.
possibly remove the bond.
We need to do.
I mean, yeah.
The bonding is in a different chapter, is not in the food truck.
But we would have
It's
to-
peddlers.
I don't think we need to send it back for P and Z. I think we just need to bring it up.
The food truck.
Oh. I think we need to bring it up next meeting. That's the 24th.
You're gonna be here.
Yeah, great, sounds great. No.
You don't know how many items we've already got on the paper.
That guy, that was the joke, but that was what I was gonna say is, do we want to? Do we even need to send it back to P and Z and just simply amend that part of the ordinance that requires the bond and put it on next month's agenda?
Well, that's
So what
two
we're-
separate things. There's two separate things.
But
That's
the
what I'm
other-
saying, it's, as of right now, it's $25 period. Right. And I'm saying we don't change,
With a bond.
I'm saying, that's the only part I'm saying. I
He's
think-
saying, let's delete the bond from our current one and just maybe play with the yearly fee and leave it for now until we.
I would keep it at 25, I don't need to squeeze $25 out of somebody selling me tacos.
Can we even make an amendment to something that,
It's
the
not
way it was,
agenda.
with the way it was on the agenda?
No, I don't think we can take any action other than.
Okay, so if I am talking to these food trucks that I'm trying to schedule for the rest of the summer, are they still gonna need to get a bond then?
As it's currently written, the answer is yes, but we can't make a change tonight because it's not on the agenda. It have to be on next month's agenda. At that time, we would say they have a $25 permit fee. However, we are voting to remove the bonding requirement.
If it's that simple, why don't we just put it on the 24th? Is it literally done? This will take 2 seconds.
Because I have well, 2 of them are, one's coming this Friday and then next Friday, and the following Friday, that
Do that.
They have to get the bond.
they have to get the bond in order to come on this Friday. As it stands right now.
We can't do anything about that.
But there's nothing that we can do, it's not on the agenda to, for example, suspend the bond.
No,
He's gonna have to get it regardless.
yeah, it's not.
Breaks it, if we can. There's
Right,
nothing-
you can't take action on something.
Because that's not on.
That was not a agenda request.
I didn't know how to make agenda requests. I thought that since that was on there, I could talk about it. I've never been to one of these before.
It's exciting.
Oh, wow.
We only got about 3 hours.
It's almost my bedtime, so yeah.
It's doing the same thing.
Hey, we're talking about water rates later, so. So yeah, that's the crappy thing for your, potential food truck vendors,
Yeah,
but,
I do people. Okay.
we can add it to the 24th. And hopefully have it resolved for July.
Just to remove all the bond.
Yeah.
Like, is that what you're suggesting?
Can we keep it more vague, so if we wanna add, change something, the review of that ordinance? Or
With possible motion, something that.
review of ordinance, whatever the number is, on possible change. That way, we're not pigeonholing us specifically what's bonded, we can bond and anything else.
Go with an ordinance change on that.
The bond that goes to the Secretary of State, you know, that's an insurance document, policy, whatever. So maybe if it costs 100 to put it on there for a year, maybe if they get it and then are able to cancel it, then maybe their insurance company, maybe there's some refund.
Okay.
At their, at the.
I'll mention it to her, yeah. Okay, thank you.
Okay. So no action on 17 and 18. Oh, here's an easy one, maybe. Number 19, consider resolution to approve pay application number 1 for the water main extension under the UP Railroad.
Any questions?
It's done?
As of today, all they need to do is, one more bacteria test and seed. So by the time this first application was done, the end of the month. Now, that is basically complete, so. Next month would be a lot bigger pad, so.
Okay, I'll make a motion that we pay this.
Roll call, please. Marion.
I,
Thank you. All right, number 20. You had asked that we put utility rates on the agenda for the 24th, which we're going to do. But in the meantime, Cynthia and Stacy came up with some very powerful scenarios to share with you. And so we're not really taking action tonight. But you have questions for Cynthia? Can she explain what she shared with you, what she and Stacy did, the scenarios, or Cynthia, what's your ideas?
Well, really, I was hoping that they would look at it and then that they just have questions. Tom also added some documents, to the packet that is information from some other towns. He had some info about their utility bills. I also added their levy information on there. It's just kind of a comparison of city costs. Joanne and I kind of discussed, the scenarios, the 1, 2, 3, 4 tests. And certainly what stood out glaringly for me is that I don't think we want to take sewer rates down to have $80,000 less a year in revenue. You know, maybe a $40,000 decrease, because that's kind of what you're shifting. And also the sewer fund currently has a healthy balance, but again, I don't think you want to make a shift I think that's too drastic of a reduction.
Sewer debt, is that what you're saying?
The sewer rate, the regular sewer rate. What also stood out to me is that the water debt. You may remember the suggestion several years in a row.
No, I don't.
That, what the current suggestion is, would meet the goals. And I just think that's the best way to do it rather than involve the rates, but that's just my opinion.
The current suggestion, which is.
That's water debt would, see here, 2350.
It's under the water debt need info at the very bottom. Because if you went to the 2350, it would leave us with a positive balance of, let's do some math in my head. $74.82, am I reading that correctly? Because our payments are $344,512. And we collect $344,602.
Yeah, it's almost, exactly
You're
what.
basically breaking even, but you're really jacked.
And then we tried test 1, the sewer debt to 24, then we dropped it down to 22 for test 2. And when John and I were kind of looking at it, we were thinking maybe run another scenario on the 24th, the morning of, because we read the meters on the 20th, so we'll have another test day there. And run it at 23 and see what it does in between those two. And then try to hit a sewer rate that doesn't decrease it by 80, maybe half. It could still be a decrease because you're just shifting some to the sewer debt, but not as much. But those are just my observations. I can run other scenarios on the 24th. It actually was kind of fun to do once we figured out how to do it.
Anybody to make water rates fun, Cynthia can.
So for the, I have a question that the council looked at, and I know it's, can be not that exciting, but did any of the test numbers jump out to you? Because some of them it impacted the lower users from a percentage more than higher end usage, whereas others it was more flat. From the lowest consumption rates to the highest consumption rates, like test 4 for water rates, and I know I'm jumping around here. It's more flat, whereas other ones, it impacts the smaller consumption users the most. We're looking at dollars or percentage, and I don't think that's accurate to look at percentage, because if you look at $100 on the low user, that goes up $8, that's 8% compared to some that has $250, 5%, that's a lot more money. So the way I look at it, I don't look at percent, because you know, what percentage the water fund or the sewer fund is, it all has to do with dollars, and I got caught up in that earlier. I'm like, I can't look at percentage.
That's gonna get a revenue percent, you know, revenue. To me, test 3 looked like it was. If I remember to the best, I thought.
Going forward for the next fiscal year, say if I talked about this once before, for the water BE projected need per month, 28,709 per month. I'm looking at your.
Yeah, 28,709, yeah, right.
So that's the target if you want to get to, you play with the numbers all at one. The sewer, we need to get to 27,741, and we're pretty much there already for the next fiscal year on a per month, right? We're all like
Yeah, right.
so it's pretty much a wash. So the way I look at it, how do we get to that 28,709? How do we play with that number? To get to 28,709 as the projected per month.
Now, the clerk in me wants to say, you put the water debt fee what it should be. That's your most consistent, guaranteed revenue flow, you know. If they cut down their usage, you still get that. Your debt payment is set, that's already committed. To me, that makes the most sense, but I'm not the end user, you know. If you try to get part of it from the set and part of it from your rate, it's a little more guessy, but.
So can you pull up the last, some of the information I added that Cynthia added, like the very last one is some stuff. I had some water bills from other towns, but the main one that hit me is someone sent me from Ely on their Facebook page. That one right there. So water rate increase starting July 1. July 1st, Dell Finance infrastructure project, water rates will be increasing in July with $9 flat rate plus 14% usage increase across the board. Across the board, they're just doing a flat. Now their average bill is going $10 to $12 a month. That's not far off with what we're looking. So, Cynthia, to what you said, I think you're talking about maybe just a flat rate.
Well, if you take the water debt fee to $23.50, and I think in test 3, we suggested, you know, we added some tiers in both the water and sewer usage part. And so, the test 3 has those water changes, and it would, bring in more. Test 4 had the sewer tiers, but they were brought in like 80,000 less. And that's what I'm suggesting, maybe to tweak those a little bit, but. And maybe you don't need the water tier to bring in quite that much more, because it's bringing in about where they are suggested now in test 3. Like $150,000 more a year. 12.5 a month. So maybe you could lower those a little bit, but raise the sewer tiers that are in test 4 a little bit, so you,
When you say a little more, how much are you talking about?
Well-
That's what 6.75%.
you know, I'd have to play around. Right now, you're losing out at 80,000. And I would say, let's suggest decreasing the revenue 40,000 a year. And then look at it in a year and see, but you know, I'm not suggesting. Put them where we're getting more in sewer, because sewer has a healthy balance. But I would be uncomfortable recommending an $80,000 decrease.
So can you pull up, Cynthia, the water debt fee info?
Yep.
please? Scroll all the way down at the bottom, you know, because it's the water that we need to increase. You said sewer is about flat. The last line, $9.99 per user per month.
Right.
Would get us to where we want.
Yeah, and I,
To be at that 208709.
and test 1 has it raised $10.
That is another option. You just do a flat $10 across the board for everybody. And I say that because I said earlier about, for example, Ely, one of the surrounding towns, they're doing a $9 flat increase. They're doing plus 14% usage also, but just throwing it out there for discussion for next month. Do you just do $10 or do you tweak the fees here and there?
So you're just not changing the water rates, but only changing the water debt fee by adding $10.
And that gets us there, right, Cynthia?
No, I can only use that for debt, SRF though, right? For water debt fees.
That can only be used towards debt, yeah.
Are you talking about the minimum usage, right now it's at 12, change up to 22?
I'm just talking
That
about
$10
that
a
option.
month.
You just switching it to just $10 to the debt fee across the board, $9.99. And that would take care of
The only
the
issue,
projected.
the only issue of using Ely is, and I did find the KCRG article, is they're using it to fund revitalizing downtown.
The sewer, I think is the.
Well, they would be towards a utility.
So, Tom, and
They can't.
here you have the figure, that's $10 added to the water debt service. From $13.50 to $23.50. Not all excess.
Yeah,
Because what Nick was saying is,
I missed
you
that.
can't use an increase in the water debt fee to handle the operating costs of the water department. That can only go to service debt, so, the, water. Can't speak here, the storage
Chemical
facility, yeah,
storage facility, hydrants, you know,
yeah.
whatever.
So that idea is outdoor. Okay.
But you could do a another $10 flat rate just to the minimum. To 1,500 gallons, that'd give you $10 more on your bill.
So if you look at
Flat
test 3, what we're suggesting is leave the minimum at 12 and still have it for 1,500 gallons. But you're just changing the tiers.
Sears, yeah.
You're adding 3 more tiers level. And I think, I'm not sure I was clear, but you know, that suggestion right there brings in about $150,000 more a year. We probably don't need that much of an increase. I would suggest lowering that suggestion down to, you know, maybe half. And then increase the sewer ones a little bit so that your negative is only about half. So
Well, in test 3, let's say you drop out the $5 rate for 25,000 gallons and over, would that make a big impact if you left that $5 in there? Went from 11,
I don't remember there being that many IUDs,
Right.
it was only like
The car wash.
maybe a dozen, if that.
And I got that information from you, Cynthia, there's 5 businesses, this was at April, I think, 5 businesses using over 10,000 gallons, 12 residentials. Properties using over 10,000 gallons, but there's 16 residentials just barely under 10,000, which kind of shocked me. 16 residentials didn't quite hit the 10,000 gallon, but only 5 businesses using over 10,000 gallons. Which I would have thought that to be
skewed way the other.
So do we do, what's the deal was, we're talking about is do test 3 with the water and test 4 with the sewer and just tweak those numbers?
But she's also suggesting, just so I'm clear, lowering on test 3 for the water. Lowering the 10 to 1050 and the 11, because if we do it that way, we're gonna be way over what we need.
Yeah.
So
Okay.
by potentially having
Which is the
that,
150.
so it'd be
Yeah.
like 12 for the base, and then, you know, I'm just having it for simplicity. 525, and 550.
And I would certainly run that as a test on the 24th and maybe
Okay.
in between.
However, even if we have those tiers, she's still recommending for the debt service to go from 13 to 20.
Right.
Well, I don't know if we can have those, because we're already at 725 in those tiers, right? And you went to like 10, 10, 50, and 11, so you'd have to go somewhere between 725 and 11. Per time.
Well.
Well,
it's an
but when you
increase,
add the
it's an
tiers,
increase
that
first, yeah.
changes the
That's true.
calculations.
You have to play with it.
Yeah, right, and that's what we could do on the 24th. And then again, the 6, the 675 and the 7 for the sewer, I would suggest we increase those a little bit, because that's showing a negative $80,000 a year.
But if you leave it at 8 all the way through, what's that leave you? Is that? Like test 3 has.
Well, that's our current rate,
Yeah.
so it doesn't
Oh,
change.
we're, okay, you gotta
Yeah.
reduce it here, I got you.
I have a question to the council that probably won't impact our revenue much, but might help soften the blow-ins to residents in a few cases, and that's on, people who have the second meter for their outside, lawn watering. Been asked recently, a resident came in and we've been asked before why we charge a minimum on the second meter as well as charging a minimum on the first meter. This particular resident used very little, and we've had so much rain, they really hardly did any lawn watering, yet their bill on the second meter was high because they had to pay the minimum. Any
Yeah.
thoughts on that?
Wow, I guess I need more info.
I mean, it wouldn't be high, it'd be $12.
And you're still processing everything involved with that.
That's what I'm just asking, what's your reaction?
I
is?
why was there a second here installed? I guess I don't really know the details, I know you don't wanna give.
Irrigation, see how to pay for the sewer.
Pool
Your wiring
irrigation.
yard or
Yeah.
whatever.
Cause it's just seasonal.
But
But you should have a minimum fee just for like the meter fee, you know, like a service fee.
Can you go to the
Like you would
Fairfax,
go to
the ones that I have,
or-
look at the Fairfax, that's mine. And I have a second meter, so if you're looking for some direct comparison. 4120 for the sewer. The water 3665, water's $12.
I mean, no, that's Ely.
And I think they were like a minimum bill usage on
I didn't
the
even
first
I
meter.
remember
So
seeing
it
that she had a
seemed
Fairfax.
like they're paying a lot more on the water on their second meter than on their
I
first.
don't think
meter.
so.
Gallon wise.
Atkins, Ely, Walford. That was your attachment.
Because according to this, I only had $12 charge.
Right, that's the minimum. So you were 1,500 gallons or less.
Or was that? 49, yeah.
But that might be on your inside. So you only used 100 on your outside meter.
12.
And the 12 is the minimum.
Okay. So in that case, Tom, you were paying $12 for 100 gallons, but you're also paying $12 for 1,500. That's what the resident was talking about comparison line.
That's a minimum, we don't have a proration for the.
Yeah.
0 to 1,500.
Just a thought.
But you guys want to,
I mean, yeah, you could go to a $6 minimum on for the first 1,500 on the second meter.
for your second meter.
Second.
It wouldn't have a dramatic
I think there's like 200 second meters, 200 and some. That
Do you wanna just run that to see what the? Does it
Oh, I won't be able to do that because, well,
Well, I mean, just guesstimate if you know.
I mean, it'll just show the difference in the total, revenue.
Revenue.
Yeah,
But she can give me the number of the second meters. It's 200, I want to say 230 some, but
just so we
I
have an
don't
idea.
deal
what
with that all the
the
time.
effect would be, yeah, just so it's close, I don't.
Okay,
Some of that fee goes to replacing the meter when the meter goes bad.
Right.
Right,
It's,
they don't pay for their,
when we replace them, they don't pay.
yeah,
for the
they don't pay
meters,
for it.
but-
Unless they let it freeze.
Right, right, if it's frozen and it's from neglect, then we make them pay, but otherwise, if it fails just by age, then we just replace it, and that's where some of those fees come into play then.
Right.
Well, and if the guys have to, if they wonder if it's running right or whatever, we don't ever charge a resident to send staff out to check.
just see what's going on.
Yeah,
Just a level set, so I'll say the current debt of 1350, the additional money is all inclusive of the upcoming wells and all that, or?
no,
is that
no,
a
it's
big
just
portion?
current,
That's mainly.
that's just current debt.
What that number is.
That's-
That's why we're spending a lot of time on this, because very important.
The, is it in 2 years? Yeah, in 2 fiscal years, so 25, 20 at the end of 26. The big sewer lagoon loan is paid off.
Yay.
I mean, we have some other sewer debt, but not, I mean, that's the main part of it. I guess that's not broke down for which debt. So it's very possible when some of that newer water comes on, you'll be able to lower your sewer debt.
Anything else we want to talk about on this tonight? It'll be on the agenda again on the 24th.
If you come up with some other scenarios that you would like, let us know before the 24th. I will be gone for 3 days the week before at Academy, but I'll be here a little bit on Wednesday and a little bit on Friday, but the sooner you can let me know, the better.
So your second meter, is that a monthly charge all year round?
No,
Not just CV?
6 months.
Okay. Let's move on. Number 21, consider resolution to close a savings account. Cynthia?
We have had a savings account. It was at Guarantee and then Cedar Rapids Bank and Trust. We kept it when, we had the lease going on and, it's farm fund money, 2,000 and some odd dollars. It earns like a whopping 5 cents a quarter. I just suggest that we close it, bring that money to Fairfax State Savings Bank, put it in the farm fund and, no, farm fund. There's just no reason to keep it there that I see.
So moved.
Second.
Roll call please.
Aye.
Aye.
Item number 22, consider resolution to transfer money. Cynthia again.
Okay, and I apologize, this wasn't in the packet till today, but vacation really.
No more vacation.
It takes my time, but I had a really good time, but I kept thinking. Retirement would be this good every day. So we usually, at the end of the year, transfer money from the general to the garbage, to make sure the fund's not negative. 15 might be enough, but I'm suggesting to just do 20, so that it doesn't get mentioned in the audit in case I'm a little bit short in the 15. And then the 5,000 from the farm operations into the park savings account we've done for years and years. We just look at that annually and guess what we're not gonna need for the cash flow. So these are 2 typical end of the fiscal year transfers that we made.
So moved.
Second.
Roll call please.
Aye.
Aye.
It's going on over here.
Thank you. Number 23, claims list. Have you reviewed the bill? Any questions on the bills? Need a motion to pay the bills?
Motion.
Need a second, please? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Thank you. Number 24, opportunities for citizens not on the agenda. And we move that issue. No? Are you talking Barbara? Or you just moving?
No, I'm
Okay,
Fire Connor, 101 Williams Boulevard, Fairfax. When I arrived here this evening, I kind of got here late, almost at night, about the duck and the poultry discussion, and Mr. Daly had said something about unless people are combative, then things go a little smoother if you're not combative.
No,
Yes, and who were you referring to when you said that?
the chicken people, when the two groups are fighting each other and stop talking to each other.
I refresh my memory.
Group A didn't like what Group B was saying, and they couldn't get along, even though they both wanted chicken. So they stopped talking to each other.
So you're saying that they were, and who are they? Who's Group A and B or who?
I'm not gonna say their names right now, because both, I don't really remember their names.
I see.
They tell you what they look like. Gotta move away.
Well, what I find interesting, it just seems like people are called combative when they question people on the council.
No, it's more that they can't agree on what the chicken order should be, so they start fighting with each other, even though they both wanted chickens. And couldn't agree on the conditions, the amount, the acreages. Had less to do with them combating with us and more with each other.
Huh. That isn't what I recall. In fact, I was one of those people that was fined $104,000 for having 6 chickens and a turkey. And we had chickens, turkey, geese, a cow, horses. When my husband moved here, there were Arabian horses here. The name of his business was Frost Creek Stables with a horse on his cart. So it's not like we didn't have horses, but it was interesting to me that in 2018, when I was in 17, when I was trying to talk to you folks about a bike trail next to a highway, everything had to go, including the horse. Oh, but their grandfather came in, and sadly, we can't have a horse now. And by the way, that horse wasn't just my horse, it hurt the community. He was everybody's horse, so. But what I really wanted to discuss was I watched the meeting last month that I couldn't attend. And some things were said, how transparency is so important and trust has to be earned. You're absolutely spot on. So does respect. You said that too. Totally agree. Totally agree. Another thing I'd like to say about Melody Vance, and I was outside when you wrapped up with her. I remember years ago when she talked with Dick Ransom through Holland, that was Holland Hall Engineering, same firm that you have now, concerning that area that she wanted. And I remember her specifically saying, I don't know why they did this. I can't get my skid loader in here. I can't clean it out. So this has been going on forever and ever and ever. And there was a verbal agreement there. So, she pays, I don't know, probably what, $40,000, $50,000, $60,000 a year in property taxes. You'd think that Fairfax could just do something for her. I mean, she's willing to use her skid loader to clean it out. I don't see other people have gotten that. I don't understand if you're not gonna do that for her. I don't get it. She's been here forever. And you have your own reasons, I guess. But I do want to thank Dan Wozniak and Joanne Beer for their transparency and for questioning things. They need to be questioned. I think that the citizens deserve to have answers. Transparency is everything. Thank you.
Anyone else, like to speak? The citizens are on the agenda?
I think Dan.
Oh, Dennis? Oh, okay.
I'm here today to address a matter, Dan Montana, 1518 Parkland Street. I'm here today to address a matter close to me. The decision to run for city council was driven by a desire to represent the residents of our community. It's not about me, it's about being a voice for all the people who voted and those who did not. Some of you may know that I wasn't initially a well-known figure in our community. In fact, I'm quite the opposite. I was really a nobody. However, what set me apart was my commitment to walking around, meeting residents, and listening to as many as I could. I heard about their families, their experiences, what Fairfax means to them. I listened to their joys, their frustrations, what they believe is working well, what they think needs improvement. Two main themes emerged from the conversations: safety and optimal use of our tax dollars. These themes have guided my discussions and actions both in meetings and in private conversations. From the beginning, I approached my role simple strategy, asking questions. One question would lead to another and another and another, as I sought to understand whether we were truly meeting the needs and desires of our citizens. My goal was never to single out any individual or department, but rather to ensure that we're all working towards fulfilling the community's expectations. Trust, as it was rightly pointed out in the last council meeting, must be earned and not given. The statements I made were based on a combination of documents provided to me and details shared in various conversations, and to claim otherwise would be disingenuous. So to my fellow council members, I understand that my email may have surprised some of you. However, the content of the email is consistent with what I have shared on my website. I haven't even changed my website, in the fax newsletter and on Facebook. The expectation was for us to work together. Yet somehow the notion of collaboration seems to have been one-sided. Take, for instance, the topic of background checks, which FYI is actually a personal matter for me. But despite its importance, there was noticeable silence from many of you. This was an opportunity for collaboration that was missed. While you're not obligated to work, we must remember that we're here to represent the same people, the residents of Fairfax. Our goals should align with the needs and interests, which was not demonstrated by the vote on fireworks, with a notable exception. So my journey on the council has been met with various challenges, including limited information, defensive comments, resistance to questioning, and even dismissive attitudes, like someone saying, "I don't care about your experience." It's been disheartening to see the lack of camaraderie, with hardly anyone reaching out or engaging in conversation. After my election, the fire chief's congratulations meant a lot. But another remark I received from someone else was, quote, "Now the fun begins." So that was clearly implying anticipated difficulties. With regards to the programs under scrutiny, just to clarify my stance, I never suggested halting the programs, and no one asked for the opinion before jumping to conclusions. Rather, my aim was to ensure that if we're investing in these initiatives, we subject them to the same scrutiny and accountability as any business venture. I was informed the majority of participants in one of the main programs are not from Fairfax. While it's not inherently negative, it prompts us to consider whether we are adequately assessing the financial implications and ensuring that Fairfax residents are benefiting proportionately. So despite these challenges, I remain committed to my role. I will continue to represent the desires of our citizens, ask questions both privately and publicly, and keep the community informed about our meetings and conversations. My dedication to Fairfax and residents will not waver. Thank you.
Anyone else that would like to speak? It's not on the agenda. Okay, we'll move on to number 25, mayor's comments. I have just a couple of quick things. Reminders, Saturdays, citywide cleanup day.
And glass,
Part-
is that the glass?
Yes, and it's our
Does-
glass recycling kickoff event.
Are they bringing that after then? Or
It'll
can we
It'll
include
be
it?
before the.
be here before,
It's here for people to bring glass, it's kind of like.
During the cleanup, so, yeah.
and it'll stay.
I go buy some bottles tonight.
Thank you for your support. Um. Alliant has, asked that we meet with the conversion personnel again, and so it looks like we've got that arranged for June 18th. So more to follow on that. And just a quick reminder, we are registered for a League of Cities webinar, also on the 18th, where city and library meet. We're gonna do it at City Hall. If anybody wants to join us, let me know, because if nobody else joins us, maybe we'll do it at the library instead. But in any case, just a reminder, I sent you an email on that. So that's all I have. Number 26, Cynthia, you have any comments?
Gina's on vacation. Remember about the special on the 24th. I'll be at the academy part of the 19th, all the 20th, part of the 21st. But I will be coming back here to finish up the packet. And then I'll be teaching budget at the Institute on the day after the special on the 25th.
Okay. Motion to adjourn. All in favor?
I.
Thank you.